Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on Shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. It is Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. And look who we have for another day in a row. My good friend Sam Flannel filling in for Adham Beydoun, who is, of course, out because he's not feeling well. For your host for today, Jeff Iafrate, as always, Gabrielle D. Phillips, and in the booth, JB as usual. What a day yesterday. A day of mixed emotions, I would say. I mean, I got to see the Tigers win over the Cleveland Guardians, 2.5 games out of the AL Central, by the way. So go Tigers. But then my night got completely ruined. But then it got saved again. It was very up and down. It was a very bipolar night for me. The Red Wings. What happened, Sam?
Well, they got number 9, which they were most likely to get. For
They
the
always
record.
do. They never move up.
I know, but it just made it worse. It made the wound that much worse that the Chicago Blackhawks, coming off of a dynasty with guys like Patrick Kane and Jonathan Taves and Duncan Keith and the crew and Marian Hossa, they, after a small stretch of being bad, they get the number 1 overall pick. And I mean, Connor Bedard, he gets to go to the Chicago Blackhawks, and this is a team that I don't think, even with Connor Bedard, is going to be ready right away. Their cupboard is pretty bare. He could have been so much more useful on the Red Wings, but he goes to the Chicago Blackhawks, meaning their rebuild just got expedited exponentially, and it just sucks. The Blackhawks.
And that was the worst part, right? It's not that the Red Wings, yes, it was frustrating that they didn't even move up, but it was even more frustrating that the Chicago Blackhawks got the number 1 overall pick. And Kevin Bell, again, tune in, woodwardsports.com, tune into the chat thread and share your thoughts on it as well. Kevin Bell says, the Wings have 5 picks in the first 2 rounds. And that's actually, the positive way to look at this. Very deep draft, and Steve Yzerman, that hasn't stopped him during his tenure from finding.
He hasn't gotten lucky yet.
Yes. Well, that's the unfortunate part. He's had to earn it.
He knows what he's dealing with, but you got to be kidding me. Can't catch a break.
No, we can't. And honestly, the fact that only 3 teams, I guess, moved, if any, like the lottery, it's funny because this is the NBA lottery as well. This happens all across. And this is why I don't want a lottery system in the NFL. I like how it is right now because even with leagues that have lottery systems, they're still tanking. Like that's the funny part. Even with the NBA, like when teams are towards the end of the season and they know, hey, we're in the lottery, let's have the best odds at a number 1 overall pick. You're just going to mail it in anyway. So I don't think a lottery system prevents it. And you're seeing now the Blackhawks, they move up 2 spots, and then you had the Ducks drop down 1 spot, and then you had the Blue Jackets drop down 1 spot. Everyone else stayed the same.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell? What's the point of a lottery then?
Did you catch on to the big flub up that they had during the show?
No.
That they announced that the Blue Jackets had moved down, that they're sitting at the 3rd spot before they went into the break and revealed the card.
Oh my God.
Okay, well that spot.
Here, the conspiracy theorists. Okay. Well, that's the frustrating part of this whole thing too. Like especially if you're a Red Wings fan, and this is why I like to relax for Pistons fans for the whole Victor Wembanyama stuff, because you can spend all the time in the world talking about scenarios and getting the number 1 overall pick, but until it actually happens, you will most likely get your heart broken.
Absolutely. You cannot put all of your eggs in the Victor Wembanyama basket if you are a Pistons fan. And for the record, the Pistons, it's not like they've been devoid of lottery luck even recently. The lottery did bring the Pistons Cade Cunningham, who I think we all think can be their best player when they are actually able to win at a high level. And the reality is there's an 86% chance that the Pistons don't get the number 1 overall pick and therefore don't get Victor Wembanyama. So there absolutely has to be a contingency plan. It's just, I'm not saying that I had my hopes up that the Red Wings would get the number 1 overall pick. I was fairly realistic and measured, but the fact that they're going to get 9 and the fact that the number 1 pick goes to the Chicago Blackhawks, who just came off of 3 Stanley Cups, now they have their next Patrick Kane, but potentially better, at least as a talent. Connor Bedard is generational, and he's going to the Chicago Blackhawks, and the Red Wings will pick number 9. I still think the Red Wings are fairly They're doing well in their rebuild, but what Connor Bedard could have brought to this team just cannot be overstated. And now I think we're just looking at a team that should make the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to be cup contenders next season.
No, and he's Connor Bedard is that type of player, and that's why we were so excited. I mean, we talked about it yesterday. The whole Victor Wembanyama or Connor Bedard. Clearly, it's a big topic, and he's a hell of a player. But JB, listen, tell me your thoughts yesterday. How are you feeling? I know you didn't like the Lakers winning at night. I know you didn't enjoy that. So you had back-to-back upsetting moments, right?
Yeah, last night was kind of rough. I'm not gonna lie. I was watching the draft lottery. I'm just sitting there hoping that there's a chance for the Red Wings to at least, not sit here and pick at 9, 10, 8, somewhere. Give us like 3, 5, something, some hope. But no. Once again, you pick at 9. And I didn't know that this young guy was only 17 years old. Like, that's impressive, man. I've never seen an athlete 17 years old about to hop into professional league like this that just seems so mature. Because they had an interview with him like a little bit before the draft lottery started. And just to see him out there just say, hey, I'm a student of the game, just study my craft. I keep going. I keep playing. Like, it would be nice to see the Red Wings have this guy on their team. But once again, it was a terrible night that ended with a terrible night and terrible ending as well, too, with my Warriors, once again, going down 3-1. Respect to LeBron, but we got to do some work if we're going to bounce back.
Yeah, I know you didn't enjoy it, JB. And some of these comments, Austin Harris, WoodwardSports.com, says, Chicago doesn't deserve it with the scandal they just had. Should have forfeited that pick. Mr. Rate says, WoodwardSports.com, what was the stat that came out recently? The number 9 or 10th pick in the NBA draft has moved into the top 4 every year for the last 4 to 5 years. I mean, yeah, that's also the difference, too. I mean, you're seeing the NBA, when people say it's rigged, I always laugh because if it's rigged, then why did New Orleans get Zion Williamson?
And they got the number 1 overall pick and the chance to draft Anthony Davis like a few years before that.
Wouldn't you think, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here, if I'm Adam Silver and I'm trying to rig the lottery, I want Zion to New York.
No, you don't want Zion in New Orleans.
No.
That's for sure. That's kind of a basketball wasteland at this point. And it's kind of proven out that way, at least with Zion's availability. I know people look at the Patrick Ewing lottery from back in the day. Obviously, he went to New York. We also look at LeBron James going to Cleveland, of course, hometown kid. But the Cavaliers were terrible the year before. And then the Chicago Bulls. Remember when they were like a fringe non-playoff team and they had a small chance to get the number 1 overall pick and they ended up getting it and getting Derrick Rose? But that's the thing. I'm not disrespecting someone like Derrick Rose, but it's not like it's LeBron James coming out or Zion Williamson. It's just Derrick Rose. Obviously, he was a damn good player, MVP before he got hurt. But all this rig stuff, it gets on my nerves a little bit. But at the same time, when it comes to the NHL draft, to kind of pivot to sports, it's hard not to see the Chicago Blackhawks get it. I wasn't one of those people that just pointed to rigged like Twitter, but I understand the sentiments of the people. I understand what's in their hearts. I'm not going to knock them for it because it stung. It stung all of us. It just did.
And Justin Reese says, and this is to you, Sam Flannel. He says on WoodwardSports.com, how can you say they won't be cup contenders before free agency even happens?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I'm just saying that Connor Bedard would have made them possible cup contenders, I would say, this year. And I think that he would basically start from day one. He would be their potential 1C. Obviously, yeah, free agency, we could see what Steve Yzerman does. He's got a war chest of picks. They could use them to go out and get a free agent. I don't know that yet. It's just Connor Bedard, you would know that they would be set up for a potential dynasty coming up. We'll see what Steve Yzerman does. We obviously trust him. I don't know. Playoffs is a more realistic goal, I think, this year.
No, 100%. I'm with you there. I think playoffs should be the expectation. Now, to say they won't be Stanley Cup contenders, Red Wings fans, especially if they're excited, you're just hurting their feelings, Sam Flannel. So how dare you say that? I just want to get to some of these comments. Dante says, I watched the Tigers game in Monday Night Raw until they brought out Trish Stratus for a dumb storyline with Becky Lynch. Okay, well, that's you, JB. What's going on? I'm missing context here.
So Trish Stratus is back in the WWE. She's been off camera for a little bit, but they're trying to pick up this storyline between her, Becky Lynch, and Lita because they once held the tag team titles. And yesterday was just kind of stupid because neither one of Lita or Becky Lynch were at the arena, so it was just kind of like, okay, Trish Stratus is just out here for no reason.
That's why I count on JB. He's got to fill me in. The only combat sports I watch are boxing and UFC. I've been out of the WWE for quite some time, so thank you for that, JB. Detroit Dabber says Blackhawks already traded everyone and barely have any cap space. Bedard is going to rot over there for a few years. It's a way to look at it, Sam Flannel.
Yeah, the cupboard is definitely bare there.
But again, that's what typically happens. If you're bad enough to get the number 1 overall pick, things aren't going your way.
Just
so
the timing of them trading Patrick Kane and now they're getting Connor Bedard.
Right.
It's just
Seamless.
absurd.
Right as he declines, they get possibly a better version of Patrick Kane. Different positions, but still, you know what I'm saying.
Right. Mark Compton says, hope Victor is not Darko. Almost hope we get the second to get Scoot. And that's part of it, too. It was different for the NHL lottery because I wanted number 1. But if you look at the NBA lottery and the NHL, this draft is deeper. And you have Steve Yzerman, who, again, no matter where you're picking, seems to find productive players. But the NBA lottery is interesting because even if you don't get the number 1 overall pick, sometimes in NBA history, teams that have landed the number 1 pick and they've taken the obvious choice, you could bring up Greg Oden, for example, and look who went right after Greg Oden.
Kevin Durant.
So sometimes it's not the worst thing in the world. Now, if there's a generational talent there, typically you do want the number 1 overall pick. So, if Victor Wembanyama, even if the risk is there for him to be injured, Sam Flannel, he's a specimen. And sometimes, I'm not calling him LeBron, but sometimes these guys come around and teams do everything in their right mind to go get them. And I feel like San Antonio's that team. They're going to end up getting Victor Wembanyama. Watch that. Watch.
I don't understand this whole notion that San Antonio would somehow be like a sexy landing spot for Victor Wembanyama. I get it. He'd be coached by Popovich. They were gifted Tim Duncan back in the day and went on to have a dynasty. But right now, old Greg Popovich, not a ton would be around Victor Wembanyama.
It'd be a wasteland.
I know you got Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson. Those are pretty good players. But to me, I don't think that San Antonio is necessarily a sexy landing spot, although Greg Popovich, you could use the whole conspiracy theory that he has a lot of pull with the NBA. I think he's ex-CIA. I want to say that he is, but one of the greatest coaches of all time. It would be kind of fun to see him with Victor Wembanyama, but obviously the Pistons. Like, I get it. Scoot Henderson and Brandon Miller are very, very good consolation prizes, but that's what they are at this point. With Scoot Henderson, the Pistons already have, I would say, a loaded backcourt of young players, although Killian Hayes, I think he should be shipped out immediately. And then Brandon Miller, I think the main red flag about him was he performed absolutely terribly in the tournament. I thought he was basically a perfect prospect until all that came out with him off the court, and then that horrific tournament performance. You still want Victor Wembanyama, but you got to have a contingency plan.
And I love I totally forgot about Sam Bowie too. Sam Bowie, and then Michael Jordan. Like, imagine being Sam Bowie. Like walking around and always being brought up the fact that I was taken before Michael Jordan, and everyone consensusly knows they messed up bad.
It was Hakeem Olajuwon, Sam Bowie, Michael Jordan.
Perfectly
Nelson
timed.
Muntz says it best.
Sam Bowie, man. This is why I love the lottery, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you what, we'll go to break when we get back. I want to get into the NBA All-Rookie teams a little bit and break this down because if you guys didn't see already, NBA All-Rookie teams were released, first team and second team, and somebody didn't make the first team, and I'm going to tell you why I think that's a big mistake. But before we do that, Sam, can you tell everybody where they can get some seafood if they want something for lunch?
Oh, absolutely. Of course, you go to Cousins Maine Lobster. Woodward Sports is brought to you by Cousins Maine Lobster Detroit. Check out their food trucks rolling around the city, offering the tastiest lobster rolls, lobster tacos, and more. Go to cousinsmainelobster.com and search locations to find the Detroit schedule, or download the app to order ahead and earn points. It's Cousins Maine Lobster.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Big Boy Strawberry Fest has officially arrived, and we're here to show you the very best flavors of the season. Satisfy your sweet tooth with our deep-fried vanilla Oreos, strawberry hot fudge cake, and a slice of our classic strawberry pie. But that's not all. Cool off on a refreshing summer splash salad, or savor the flavors of our chicken Caesar wrap and strawberry bacon chicken wrap. And for breakfast lovers, don't miss out on our strawberry hotcakes or our mouth-watering red velvet waffle. Strawberry Fest is something for everyone. Celebrate the sweet season with us at Big Boy.
We are the network for Detroit by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show. If you're watching at woodwardsports.com, thanks for checking out the website. Be sure to check out our articles and our merchandise, all that's going on. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. And if you're listening via podcast, wherever you listen to your podcasts, be sure to download and leave a 5-star review for the stripes and the flannel going on today.
You have to. Absolutely have to. Your host for today, Jeff Iafrate, and again, filling in for Adam Beydoun, my good friend Flannel Sam in the building, JB, Gabby Phillips, and Alex Westfall, as usual. But I got to bring this up to you, Sam, because I didn't get a chance to talk to you about this or get your thoughts on it. Did you see the NBA All-Rookie teams?
I did.
Did you get a chance to peek them? Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and read off the all-rookie first team, and I'll go through, and then I'll go through the all-rookie second team, and just so we can get some clarity on where everybody stands, okay? 2022-2023 Kia NBA all-rookie first team, okay? Paulo Banchero. Fair?
Absolutely.
Everyone agrees, okay.
100%.
Walker Kessler, I would say, okay, I don't have a huge issue with that. I think he played well to end the season.
I think that's fair.
That's fair, whatever. Okay. Keegan Murray from the Sacramento Kings. Fair. All right.
He was over 40% from three as a rookie.
That's pretty good as a rookie.
Yeah.
So that's also fair. Jalen Williams, I don't have an issue with that. Jalen Williams he shot over 50% from the field. He got better as the year went on as well. Now here's where it gets interesting. Okay, Benedict Mathurin from the Indiana Pacers is also on the all rookie first team. And just to give you some context, all rookie second team is Jay Nivey, Jalen Duren, Jabari Smith, Jeremy Shohan, and Tyree Eason from the Houston Rockets. So there's your 5. One of these things is not like the other, Sam Flannel. Okay, Jay Nivey's on this all-rookie second team, and he's far better than any of these players. So something's wrong, and I'm going to tell you why I think they got this one wrong, okay? And Mike Curtis tweeted this out, who does a great job, by the way. He writes for the Detroit News. He tweeted out, Pistons rookie Jay Nivey received 43 first-team votes, while Jalen Duren led all rookies in second-team votes. So Jay Nivey got a ton of first-team votes, okay? But he didn't make it. Benedict Mathurin made it. And this is where it's confusing to me because, correct me if I'm wrong, Sam Flannel, before the All-Star break, the talk was Benedict Mathurin. Right, before even to start the season, he played really well. Even up until the All-Star break, Benedict Mathurin averaged 17 points. 17 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, okay? Didn't really do anything defensively. And his numbers weren't even that impressive shooting-wise. I mean, he shot 42% from the field and roughly 31% from 3. Jay Nivey, let's read his numbers during that time, okay? So Benedict averaged 17. Okay, well, Ivy gave you 15, all right? And then he averaged about the same rebounds, more assists, more steals, more blocks, and basically shot the same percentages. So that's what everybody's talking about with Benedict Mathurin, because if we go after the All-Star break, it's not even close. Ivy was the better overall player from after the All-Star break till now. So if you're basing this argument all off of, it's what everybody sees first, which I disagree with. I think it's how you finish. It's not how you start, especially as a rookie. Because when you're looking at a rookie and they start off playing really well and they finish the season struggling, I prefer if you start off the season struggling and finish the season really well, and you add things to your game, right? That's what you prefer out of any rookie, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so Jay Nivey did that. He struggled to start the season, and by the end, I'll tell you, these are his numbers after the All-Star break. Before, he averaged about 4.5 assists. He bumped that up to 7, so he increased his playmaking up to 7 assists, averaged more points, 19 points, 4 rebounds, and the rebounds, it is what it is, but more points, more assists, and again, basically the same percentages. He shot better from 3 than Mathurin after the All-Star break, which is crazy to me because I was told that Jay Nivey wasn't a shooter. He was a terrible shooter. Benedict Mathurin is the guy you should get because he's a great shooter. He shot better from three-point land with more attempts. So that's confusing to me. And I don't understand. And again, you look at this all-rookie team, Paolo, Walker Kessler, Benedict Mathurin, Keegan Murray, Jalen Williams. You know what all these guys have in common besides Paolo Banchero?
What's that?
They play alongside an all-star. So, okay, if we're talking about all rookie first team, in my opinion, and you guys know how I feel about these lists, they're all stupid. I argued for Cade last year. They're now basing these lists or the Rookie of the Year award off, it's basically the MVP credentials. You're looking for how many games did you win? And are you good? Like, are you good comes second. It's always about how many games did you win. Because if we're basing it off the best overall rookies, which I think it should be, Paolo Banchero should win Rookie of the Year. It should be him. Now, all rookie first team, you're going to reward players for playing with more talent. That I don't agree with. Jaden Ivey, it's not his fault that his all-star this year, Cade, who should have been healthy all season, and he could have made the all-star team, he wasn't available all year. So we're going to punish a player for having to overcompensate and do more, and he still played better than Benedict Mathurin. He was getting superstar treatment every night. Opposing teams were game planning for Jaden Ivey, and he still played well, and he gets punished. Like, this doesn't make any sense to me, and this is my biggest frustration with this list. How are we going to punish a player for having to do more, and he does more, and we punish him? Like, it's ridiculous. If we're going off the best rookies, he should make the list over Benedict Mathurin. He affects the game in more ways. If you have eyeballs, you know that. It has nothing to do about, no one's watching Pistons basketball. You turn on one game. You turn on one game of Benedict Mathurin, and you turn on one game of Jaden Ivey. You'll know right away. You'll know. And even if you watch them play head-to-head, you'll know. So that's my frustration with this list, Sam, is, again, do these players care about the all-rookie team? Probably not. But the fact that Jaden Ivey, as well as he played, kind of gets still overlooked. Like Jalen Duren on second team, it makes sense. Like Duren, he played well enough. I didn't even expect him to really make the All-NBA or the All-Rookie second team. It's impressive. And credit to Troy Weaver, by the way, because multiple rookies now have made All-Rookie teams. You have Isaiah Stewart, Sadiq, who's no longer a Piston, and then you had Cade, and now you have two more. So credit to Troy Weaver. But what am I looking at, Sam Flannel? Why didn't Jaden Ivey? Why does he get punished? Is my question.
Well, first off, I'm not going to pretend, and I don't think you're doing this, but let's not pretend that Benedict Mathurin was complete and utter trash this season. Obviously, he started off the year much, much stronger than Jaden Ivey. I argued that during the first month of the year, he might end up getting votes for sixth man of the year, period. Obviously, that didn't happen. He tapered off massively as the season went along. The thing I think that bothers me with the whole Jaden Ivey versus Benedict Mathurin comparison, you cannot tell me that a narrative wasn't formed at the very beginning. And the narrative is that Benedict Mathurin can shoot and Jaden Ivey cannot. But would you know, and Jeff, you kind of already laid this out, Jaden Ivey has a better three-point percentage than Benedict Mathurin. Did you guys know that? Maybe you didn't. You do now. and that's the thing. I don't want it to be sort of a narrative conversation. Obviously, Benedict Mathurin, he played very, very well. When you look at their numbers side by side, he averaged more points, had a higher field goal percentage, had a worse three-point percentage, had a slightly more rebounds per game. But when it comes to assists, Jaden Ivey just laps the floor with Benedict Mathurin because, like you said, the responsibility that Jaden Ivey had to undertake this season with Cade Cunningham being out for 70 games was way more than what Benedict Mathurin had to face. He was playing off ball. He had Tyrese Halliburton having a phenomenal year as his point guard. And that needs to be taken into consideration. Jaden Ivey, for some reason, I feel like nationally and even amongst some of our fellow Pistons fans, he doesn't get the same respect and say cachet as even a Cade Cunningham did last year, even though his numbers are very, very comparable. It disturbs me a little bit, the narrative that's being created amongst Jaden Ivey, and people don't understand that this was a season that deserve to be rewarded with first-team All-NBA. I think you can make an argument over Benedict Mathurin, and I think you can make an argument, I'm not saying it's a winning one, but you can make an argument over Keegan Murray, just because Keegan Murray did not have nearly the responsibility that Jaden Ivey did. He got to play with Sabonis and Fox, and he was just basically a spot-up shooter, a deadly one. That's a 3-and-D guy. Jaden Ivey this year was basically expected, with Cade Cunningham to be out, to be the point guard, to be the best player on the team. And he obviously wasn't ready for that, but who would be at that age? It's not like he was this all-world generational talent. He's very, very talented, but this is about To me, I think Jaden Ivey even exceeded expectations. Obviously, he was going to accumulate more numbers with Cade Cunningham being out, but his three-point shooting, his playmaking, those are things that really, really impress me. And I was told, especially like you were, that he can't shoot. And I was told that he was kind of an okay playmaker. He looked pretty good this year. I just think this particular season should have been rewarded with first-team All-NBA. But Jaden Ivey just doesn't get the respect that other rookies did, even as much as Cade Cunningham got last year.
No, and this is what frustrates me too, Sam. And again, chime in if you disagree. Okay, with Jaden Ivey and what he's been able to do, especially with the Pistons, and I get you bring up, well, the Pistons stink, and that's pretty much try to be the end of the argument, typically. Well, the Pistons aren't good. That's why he's not on the first team. Okay, well, correct me if I'm wrong. If you're picking at top of the draft, are you a good team?
No.
Okay, thank you. I just found that out today. I did not know that. Typically, this is not the NFL. You typically don't go from worst to first, right? This is the NBA. Unless you have a ton of money and you have guys that are turning into superstars, or maybe you have a big injury like the Warriors had when they picked
Wiseman.
Yes, exactly. Those are exceptions. But for the most part, you're on a bad team. Unless the lottery system bumps up a team into the top 5 that maybe was a little worse than they should have been. But typically, like the Pistons, you stink. Like that's how that works. So how can we hurt a player like Ivey, who not only plays on a team that stinks, but lost their best player for the entirety of the season? We're going to punish him for having to do more and actually played well doing it.
Absolutely. Lost Cade Cunningham for 70 games and lost Boyan, who was probably who was their best scorer
Easily,
for, I think, 26 games. Jaden Ivey, at least at the end of the year, basically put this team on his back, put up the best numbers of the season when the team needed him most. I know they weren't really worried about winning too much, but it was just nice to see Jaden Ivey really take this team to the finish line. He was phenomenal, and he ended the season so strong. And we talk about Benedict Mathurin. He fell off big time. Mm-hmm. Like I said, Benedict Mathurin,
he'll be a good player.
He'll be a good player.
But for this, JB, just your thoughts on it. We got a couple minutes left. When you saw the list, what was your first reaction?
Overall reaction, we just can't have nice things. That's all that it is right there. Like, we can't get higher in the NHL draft lottery.
Yep.
We can't have our Detroit Pistons favorites, our fan favorites, at least hop up here in the rookie all-team list. But don't get me wrong, and I don't want to discredit the players that did make the first team list, because I'm sure they're all great in their own ways. But still, at the same time, it's like, come on, Ivey did the most with less.
But that gets punished.
Yes.
Like, that's, again, are we all on the same page? Do you guys believe that Rookie of the Year, or just crediting rookies, should be best overall rookie? You're not taking into account how many games they win. Maybe if there's 2 close rookies, maybe you look at that, but it'd have to be pretty similar stats for me to look at record, because I look at best rookies.
See, that's where I think there can be a tiebreaker scenario. And this is where I'm going to anger people after just caping up for Jaden Ivey, I did not have a huge problem with Scotty Barnes winning Rookie of the Year last year and Evan Mobley maybe getting more votes, because they were more efficient than Cade Cunningham, and they played on playoff teams. I'm not saying that Cade Cunningham wasn't great. I'm just saying that it can be a tiebreaker, I would say. But the thing about Benedict Mathurin is he was a very, very inefficient scorer. Those are just the numbers. I mean, Jaden Ivey wasn't super efficient either, but his three-point percentage was better.
And I always say, who are you when your shot's not falling? Again, when Jaden Ivey, when his shot's not falling, he still has an impact on the game. Whether he's setting up other teammates, he's playing good defensively, he's hustling. I mean, again, with his speed and athleticism, he can affect the game in a lot of different ways, offensively and defensively. With Benedict Mathurin, if he's not shooting well, he's basically just a 6'7" body out there. Like, there's not much he provides defensively. Yes, with his length, but other than that, he's not a playmaker. He's not a great rebounder. He's not an elite or really good defender. So again, maybe I'm crazy. But again, if I'm crazy, I know exactly the place to go, and it's my friends over at SMA. Maybe they can help me out during this stressful time. The Sports Marketing Agency helps spread awareness about mental health and substance abuse. Their new podcast, This is the S Word, helps fight the stigma about seeking help. If you or someone you know is struggling, head to thesportsma.com for more information.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side.
Lemieux and McCarty, who've had a good knockdown drag up. There they go, right on the whistle. They were talking to one another.
Woodward Sports.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show. We have a fresh face on the show today, Mr. Sam Flannel. And if you're watching at YouTube, please be sure to like and subscribe. If you're watching on the website, check out everything else we have going on, our clips, previous episodes. And if you're listening wherever you listen to your podcast, please be sure to download and leave a 5-star review.
And we're back, Morning Woodward Show. Jeff Iafrate, your host for today, filling in for Adham, Beydoun, Sam Flannel. And Sam, I have an interesting question, and I'll go around the room for this, because this is something that I sat on after the draft, and I've talked with some of my friends about it. And I think it's an interesting question, because we know every year Brad Holmes, so far, 2 for 2, Brad Holmes finds somebody. I mean, the first year was Amon-Ra St. Brown. He followed it up the second year, James Houston, Malcolm Rodriguez. Like this, it's not a matter of if, it's when. And this year, the draft's over with, and we've been talking a lot about Brian Branch, Jack Campbell, Jahmyr Gibbs, Hendon Hooker. But what about these other guys, right? What about a Broderick Martin? What about a Colby Sorsdahl? What about Antoine Green? What about these guys? And I want to ask you first, before I give my answer, I'll go last. Out of the players drafted, who is the Amon-Ra, the James Houston, the Malcolm Rodriguez in this class this year? Who do you think?
Well, I hope that it's Broderick Martin, because there's still a lot of questions. I know we've talked about it on a lot of shows. Did the Lions do enough to address the defensive line? Did they do enough to where they don't allow the franchise record for rushing yards in the game to the Carolina Panthers? Did they do enough to where they avoid scoring 45 points in a game and losing? And Broderick Martin, he was obviously somebody that they coveted. They traded up to get him. Brad Holmes traded up to get him. And if Broderick Martin has the type of impact that even, let's say, an Ali McNeil had when he was also drafted in the 3rd round, I think this would really, really help their defense. All he has to do is become a rotational piece that gets snaps on the defensive line, is a linchpin in their run defense, and gets some interior pressure. If he does that, I think that Broderick Martin might end up being one of the better picks in the draft, because it was such a need. And I know I was a little bit puzzled with them waiting so long to do it, but maybe they saw something in Broderick Martin. I don't think he's the type of guy that's going to be game-wrecking or dominant, but I think he can be solid. Mm-hmm. And if he is solid, given the fact that they need a defensive line presence so much, I think that Broderick Martin can be seen as one of the better picks in this entire draft, like including 1st and 2nd round if he pans out. So I'm going to go with Broderick Martin as my sleeper.
And by the way, feel free, call in 313-552-6322. Share your thoughts. Who's the sleeper in the 2023 NFL Draft? Who could be the Amon-Ra, the James Houston, the Malcolm Rodriguez? And JB, I'll go to you next. Which of these late-round picks are you looking forward to seeing this year?
I'm actually looking forward to seeing the wide receiver from North Carolina. What is it?
Antoine Green.
Yeah. Definitely an interesting name. I didn't see a lot of film on the guy, but from what I've read and from what I've heard, like, he is progressing solid as a receiver, especially the last 2 seasons at North Carolina. So just getting him here in the mix, especially with J-Mo gone for 6 games, seeing the kind of production he might be able to provide this, Lions team, it'll definitely be interesting. I'll say that.
What about you, Gabby?
Not necessarily a late pick, but if we're comparing him to St. Brown, I'm going to say Brian Branch, because I think he's going to come in with that chip on the shoulder, like that iconic clip from Hard Knocks with St. Brown running through everyone that was picked before him. I think Branch is going to come in with that same fire underneath him and having something to prove, especially being the only one that came back to walk across that stage.
And he was easily, I had, if you would have told me Brian Branch fell in the 2nd round before the draft, I'd be like, you're crazy. We'll see. I mean, he's a 1st-round pick, and I think that's going to piss him off. And I'll take a pissed-off DB with Aaron Glenn. I think he's going to turn him into a solid player. I'll go easily Broderick Martin. And that's why I love what you said, just because. And the reason why I say Broderick Martin, because Brian Branch is my favorite pick, to agree with the Gabby there, but with Broderick Martin, that's somebody that no one's really talking about. And I think for him and his size, Like, especially, I mean, I was watching the draft with Michael Gentry, our Red Wings beat reporter, a good friend of mine, and we're sitting there watching the draft, and we see the Lions trade up. We're like, who are they trading up for? Broderick Martin, the 6'5", 350-pound defensive tackle out of Western Kentucky. And then the more you look, I'm like, well, I'm trying to figure out who Broderick Martin is. And my gosh, not only his size, but what Brad says about him with, how fluid he is at his size. And Neil Rule always brings up on Big D Energy, anything to prevent 300 yards rushing against the Carolina Panthers. And here you go. Here's a big man. A man who could fill space in the middle. Now, does he have the pressure, the pass rush upside? I don't know. But still, he is a massive human being, and I think he'll help out against the run. JB, send him through. Who do we got calling the show?
We got Mark here. He wants to call and talk about the draft with you guys.
What's going on, Mark? Welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning, guys. I just wanted to say real quick, you guys are awesome. Definitely have your finger on the pulse of the city. I was in shock like everyone else. On draft night, I watched you guys do your thing at 5th Avenue. So native Detroiter, live in Fort Worth, but I still pay attention to everything on the daily. Colby Sorsdahl, I think, is really interesting. Is he a North Dakota State guy, if I remember correctly? I mean, that's a real football team. I mean, they win championships. They constantly play for championships. The dude is huge. Sounds like he's got a really nasty, mean streak. I mean, the formula is there. All great points about the defensive tackle because we need it so bad.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't think people should sleep on that guy either. I think he's got a good shot to be a nice part of the rotation. And have a great morning, you guys.
And by the way, Mark, go ahead. Thank you for calling the show. Thank you for supporting the network. And I want to comment on what you just said because Corby Sorsdahl, and to kind of just help you out here, he went to William and Mary, but still a guy who's
that's right,
a guy who's very versatile. To your point, Mark. I mean, that's what drew Brad to him. I mean, he played right tackle, then he moved to guard in the bowl game, I believe, or at the East versus West, the game, the Invitational, and then he played a little bit of center. So the guy plays 3 different positions on the offensive line. You got him in the 6th round. I mean, the 5th round. It's great value. So it's a great point, Mark. Hopefully he can start some games.
Yeah, we got big offensive line contracts coming up. Yeah, have a great morning, guys.
Appreciate the call.
Thank you.
See, and that's somebody that I was going to mention too. But Broderick Martin's just he's the most intriguing one. But Colby's somebody that not only is a perfect fit for what the Lions need on their offensive line, but character-wise, he likes fishing. So Frank Ragnow. They're all going to love him. And for a guy who could play multiple positions, you lose Evan Brown, who kind of filled that role a little bit. He could play guard. He could play center. Now you got basically a taller and bigger Evan Brown who can come in and play that role.
Well, I mean,
solid.
If somehow Colby Sorsdahl hits and he's that diamond in the rough 5th-round pick, and you have discussions of whether you want to pay guys moving forward, maybe Colby Sorsdahl is a guy on a rookie contract, is sort of I would say a chance to make your strength even stronger. I didn't hate that pick at all. If he actually turns out, if he actually becomes something, if he actually becomes a starter and he's on the cheap, this Detroit Lions offensive line will just continue to be elite down the road. So that's a good one. I like the Colby Sorsdahl pick as well.
Big Con 51 says the fact that Brad gave up so much for Broderick makes you think Brad knows something. He did have an eye for Donald. And listen, if Broderick Martin could be 1% of Aaron Donald, I think we'd all be ecstatic. But you're right. You're spot on, Big Con. I mean, if Brad has an eye for defensive tackles, I mean, Levi didn't really necessarily pan out yet, but we don't know. He was injured. Still a little bit upside there. Liam McNeil, solid. He clearly can tell if you can stop the run. And here you go, 6'5", 350 human being later. He'll be just fine. I think they're going to need Broderick Martin there. And then you got veterans in that room too. I mean, you got Bugs, you got Benito Jones. So great supporting cast around Broderick Martin. But JB, send the caller through. Who do we got?
All right, I will send you guys Todd.
Todd, welcome to the show. What do you want to discuss, my man?
Hey, just want to speak about Goff and getting rid of him.
Okay.
We've got, you keep that money and you're building the Lions team around him. We always talk about how these average quarterbacks are able to succeed because of the team itself and not the quarterback. So hoping that maybe we get rid of him and go with Hendon and we're able to keep our core together. I mean, I don't know how many people have really spoken about that.
Yeah, and by the way, you're spot on. The ideology you just brought up is why I'm excited to see what Hendon Hooker is, because even if he's Jared Goff, let's not even say he's, some superstar quarterback. Let's just say Hendon Hooker's average. Imagine having an average quarterback like Jared, because I believe Jared's average. I mean, he has good years. He's probably a little better than average. But if Hendon could even get to that point, Todd, you have him on a rookie deal. And then you have Jonah Jackson, Amon-Ra, Penei Sewell, these guys coming up. And now we're talking more and more about free agents that could potentially be available or via trade, like the 49ers just did with, landing Hargraves and getting McCaffrey last year. They do this because you have a quarterback on a rookie deal. So you're spot on, Todd. It opens up a ton of possibilities.
Yeah, we go to about an 8-year window with him.
What'd you say?
We go to about an 8-year window with him.
Yes. Yeah. No, you're I mean, especially, listen, if Hendon Hooker, they brought up his age. Brad and Dan commented how much they actually prefer his age. He's 25, he's mature, and they still, quarterbacks nowadays, you play till you're near 40. So at 25 years old, you can get 10, 15 years out of them. So solid pick, but appreciate your call, right, Todd. Thank you.
Yeah, take care.
Yep, take care. Well, what do you think about that, Sam Flannel?
Well, it's a conversation that certainly needs to be had. The Jared Goff discussion is obviously one that is very, very polarizing, even amongst Woodward sports hosts, and I totally get it. He obviously he had a great year last year, a worthy Pro Bowl, 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions in this Ben Johnson system. Obviously has amazing rapport with Amon-Ra St. Brown, but if he does that again, we keep talking about it. He might ask for $45-50 million a year, and I honestly think he would be
$50 million.
Exactly, Smokey. I think he would be justified in doing so, given what you see Daniel Jones and his 15 touchdown passes make. It's a conversation that certainly needs to be had.
Let me just call some comments out here, just so we get some clarification on what we're discussing. Okay, Paul Thomas, brilliant caller. Let's dump a top 3 quarterback in the NFC for a college kid with a torn ACL. Now, Paul, let me just break this down for you. I'm not saying to go ahead and just dump Goff, and you're assuming that at least I don't have any film on Hendon Hooker. This is for Brad and Dan. They're going to be able to watch Hendon all year in practice, right? I'm not there in Allen Park every single day at practice. I'm not there talking to Hendon Hooker after practice, before practice. Like, that's their job.
I'll keep my eyes out.
That is Gabby's job. She will be doing all of that and more. So you could go to her for those questions. But for me, that's their job to evaluate Hendon Hooker. I'm not saying bench Goff, start Hendon. If he stinks, they'll know he stinks. And at that point, you think, okay, well, we don't have a better option than Goff. We'll go ahead and stick with him. But if Hendon has higher upside, right, you saw reports years ago when I joked about it yesterday with Patrick Mahomes. I never believed any of those reports. Matt Mahomes looks good in practice. All these things with different arm angles. They were right. He's a stud. So my point being, if Hendon shows those things in practice, then you're going to have to at least consider him. But I'm not saying blindly just start Hendon and send Jared packing. Like, Jared's fine. He's fine. He can win a division. He can win a playoff game. But Hendon Hooker, there's a ton of upside there, and there's a reason why Brad said that in the press conference. Love his upside. You don't just say that. Like, there's clearly they see something in Hendon Hooker, and we'll see if he pans out. It's up to him.
Absolutely. I see Hendon Hooker as the 3rd best quarterback prospect in this last draft. I think he's a better prospect than Anthony Richardson and a better prospect than Will Levis, and the Lions got him in the 3rd round. If Jared Goff asks for too much money and they want to sort of hand the keys over to Hendon Hooker and give them more flexibility to keep up this great roster that they're creating and supplement it even more, I wouldn't necessarily hate it. It is a very, very good contingency plan.
It's at least a little bit of leverage.
Yes.
We don't know what Hendon is, but he's still a first-round pick who you took in the 3rd round. We're going to go to break. When we get back, we'll get to some more callers because I know people are waiting on the lines. But before we do that, actually, no, we'll go to break. We'll see you guys in a little bit.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
The sports marketing agency would not be who we are without great community partners like Higuera Health and Carol Zaniga.
It's an awesome opportunity to partner with your organization. Higuera Health is a comprehensive behavioral health
organization, we serve children through older adults with mental health, substance use, and developmental disabilities across Western Wayne counties, and really excited to now be in downriver communities as well. Give us a call at 734-458-4601.
Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in America. Woodward Sports, the first sports network born in Detroit and made for Detroit.
People always ask how my hair looks so damn good, and you know why? Because I go to Lady Jane's to get my hair cut on the regular, and I go to any one of their amazing stylists. They've all done an amazing job. My wife always gives me compliments on it, and you can too, and you could. And how would you also like to win a new vehicle for you and a friend? That's right, a new car for you and your wife, girlfriend, or best bud, or even the Woodward Heavyweights' Spencer Raxter. Help a brother out. Just get to Lady Jane's and automatically register for your chance to win, courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
We're back here in the Morning Woodward Show, woodwardsports.com. If you're watching live on our YouTube channel, don't forget to subscribe. Show some love there. If you're watching on woodwardsports.com, which you should be, then check out latest news, our articles, updates, show clips, and more, like merchandise. And we just added some more merchandise with the new draft class, so you're going to want to check that out. And if you can't watch live, it's okay. Download our podcast, leave a 5-star review. Available everywhere you listen to your podcast, Apple or Spotify included. But JB, I want to get to these callers and kind of stay on the topic, whether it's about golf, like Todd wanted to call about, or some sleepers in the draft. But who do we got waiting on the phones?
I got you here. I will send you guys Vaughn.
Vaughn, welcome back to the show. What do you want to discuss?
What's up, man? This is Vaughn, a.k.a. Bob. I see people are still calling me Bob.
Hey, that's on me. That's messed up. That's on me. I'll take that one.
So it's all good, man. But, I'm back with some more draft talk, so I just wanted to get my spiel on that. So I would say my sleeper is definitely Broderick Martin. And I want to say that one thing you got to look at just in sports in general, whether it's basketball, football, whatever, is those measurables. You just can't teach them. Jalen Carter, I'm not saying he's going to be better than Jalen Carter, but Jalen Carter, 6'3", 300 pounds. Broderick Martin, 6'5", 330 pounds or 350 pounds. And just his mentality, like he did at the press conference, and he was like, I hate when teams run against me. I take that as disrespect. I feel like they don't respect me. And I mean, who better would you want to have at that position than a guy like that? And just to bring up a little bit of past history with this current Detroit Lions regime, I mean, when you think about guys in the later round that was on that D-line, when you think about like James Houston, he wasn't a number one pick. And I'm not going to say he's better than Aiden Hutchinson, but, numbers versus against each other. I mean, he had a damn good 8-game stretch when he played. Every game he produced. And It's like, with that same amount of coaching, if you get at some Broderick Martin, I mean, you don't know what is going to happen. So that's my stance on him. Another guy I would say is, I would say Hendon Hooker. I'm kind of with, I think, Jeff, you made this point a little while ago. Like, if he continued to play, we really don't know where he would have ended up. You could probably argue that him and Stroud would have been head-to-head for like that second right under Bryce Young.
Right.
So I would say Hendon has a lot of upside. I like Jared Goff. I mean, if you just want to talk numbers, I mean, he actually had a great year. He had more passing yards than a lot of guys that more total yards than him. He was only behind Joe Burrow in passing yards by 138 yards, and he had less interceptions. He had more passing yards than Jalen Hurts. So, I like Jared. But if you're going to sit here and tell me they're going to deal, Hendon Hooker will be better. I mean, hell, sign me up. I'm not stupid. You know what I mean? And just some of the signings he made, too, like after the draft with the offensive tackle. He got that offensive tackle, I think, from I can't remember the school, but he got that offensive tackle. So, strengthening the strength. He got that tight end from, I think, France or something like that. And I'm not expecting him to come in and be a pass catcher. But what I do think his role will be more along the lines of like, just like a pass blocker or a run blocker. He's a big, strong guy, I don't think we're sending him on pass routes much, but I think he could come in and do some damn good blocking. And if you look at the schedule, we got some good D-lines to go up against, so we definitely need him. You know what I mean? So that's just my spiel.
Yeah, and Vaughn, by the way, I mean, that's very fair, what you just said, giving credit to Goff, but also understanding, hey, if Hendon Hooker's better and he has a higher ceiling, then I'm willing to explore it, especially if Brad and them see it in practice. So I think that's fair. I appreciate you calling, Vaughn. Seriously.
Thanks. Have me back, man.
Yep, take care. And he nailed a couple things there. I mean, Vaughn, he talked about you can't teach size, which is true. You can't teach 6'5", 330. Like, you can't just – typically those guys don't just grow on trees. Like, am I wrong or am I right, Sam?
No, you are 100% right. I mean, if all – I kind of said this earlier. If all Broderick Martin is sort of that linchpin in the run defense, that space clogger. No,
yes.
I mean, obviously we'd like him to be more than that. If he is basically –
but at the minimum.
Right.
That's what he's going to be.
I mean, if he's basically a facsimile of Aleem McNeil, it's still a good pick. It would still vastly improve the defensive line. So this Broderick Martin pick, although at the time I was a little bit puzzled, it's definitely sitting a lot better with me as time goes along. They needed to address the defensive line. They did it. And let's hope that he is a player. He does have that just ability and that elite size, and he pushes people that way, as Neil Rule said. They need more people like that, and especially if you combine him. What if Levi Onwuzurike comes back healthy? Josh Pascal. I mean, John Kaminsky also goes outside and in. Isaiah Buggs. This defensive line, the more that I sort of think out loud, the more I think it could actually be better than we think. And Broderick Martin can be a huge part of that, or at least be a consistent rotational piece. That's all he really has to be in order to be a success in year one.
And the fact that Brad avoided the defensive line in the first round tells you how confident he is in that room, right? Because you had Pascal, who came back last year and didn't play too bad. Levi was out. Aleem McNeil actually was pretty solid last year, and then we know what Aiden was. I mean, you specifically know what Aiden was. You watched him closely. So Brad, at the same time, as much as I still want Jalen Carter, that will not change. Broderick Martin fits a specific need, like that nose tackle to the run stopper role. Because Aleem McNeil, yes, similar, but he's also, 3 inches taller and about 15 pounds heavier than Aleem McNeil. So, again, those are just traits you can't teach. I want to get to the chat thread, woodwardsports.com. Hoofheart, it says, best possible situation for the Lions. Extend Goff to a good deal. Hooker ends up being awesome. Trade Goff for a Stafford package. Wow. I mean, now, Hoofhearted, Lions fans would tell you, well, if Goff's good, why are you trading him? And they're going to come after you. But I can see that. If you can get more assets for Goff when he was just a throw-in piece, not saying trade Goff, relax, don't throw the pitchforks at me. I'm just posing the idea that if he is, somebody that the Lions are like, hey, we're not going to pay, but he's a good quarterback, and they like what they have in Hendon, you could get some assets for him. Could you not?
I mean, you definitely could if he continues to play at the high level that he was playing at last year. Because right now, when you look at Jared Goff, the totality of his career, he's had 3 Pro Bowl level seasons, 3 mid seasons, and a terrible rookie year. Although that was with Jeff Fisher as his head coach, and you can pretty much throw that one out the window. But if Jared Goff continues to be consistent, has another great year or two, I think you can get something for him. Although, if you do something like that, if you trade Jared Goff and hand the keys over to Hendon Hooker, given that Jared Goff, you're actually able to negotiate a good deal for him, that's another one where this better work. You better be fully confident in Hendon Hooker. I love him as a prospect, but that would be a little bit risky.
Yeah, yes, it would. It's funny, Alec G. Imagine this scenario, woodwardsports.com. Goff to L.A. for Stafford and 2 future firsts.
Jesus Christ.
I love that.
I'm coming home.
Not to jump back to the Broderick Martin talk, but it was brought up yesterday on Big D talking about did the Lions do enough in the draft to address their defense? And I said yes. And I was one of the only ones defending that. With all this talk of Martin, Flannel, do you think that they did enough in the draft to address their defense?
I think it's still to be determined. If Broderick Martin turns out to be a good pick, I would probably lean towards yes. Obviously, Jack Campbell fills a need at linebacker. You obviously got Brian Branch, who, in terms of value picks, no doubt to me was the Lions' best pick, and he's one of those guys that's plug and play right away, although the secondary is fairly loaded. The only reason that Brian Branch fell as far as he did, in my opinion, was because of his athletic measurables. He ran a 4.58 40. He didn't really score as high on the athletic scores, but when it comes to production, when it comes to technique, when it comes to football IQ, Brian Branch has that all in droves. So Gabby, to kind of answer your question, I think potentially they did. I just think it's a little bit risky passing on arguably the best player in the draft in Jalen Carter, but it might turn out to work. I hope that it does. I hope that Jalen Carter completely flames out in Philadelphia. I hope that Broderick Martin turns into a player that is at least the caliber of an Aleem McNeil. And if that's all the case, then they would have done enough. And Brad Holmes would have nailed his 3rd draft in a row. I hope that they did, for real.
Well, and again, it's tough because the statistics are a little bit skewed because last year you look at it and you're like, well, this defense for the most part wasn't good, but the last 8 games they were great against the run, except for Carolina. So for a defense that, even if they didn't add anybody last year or this year, they still would improve. They would still improve by default. And what they did in free agency, adding a lot of secondary players, by the way, which should have probably told most people what they were going to do in the first round. Emmanuel Mosley, Cam Sutton, getting C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They improved their secondary, which was the weakness of this team last year. Defensive line played well, especially late in the season. And then you get to the draft, Jack Campbell in the first round, Brian Branch, Broderick Martin, who we like, a lot of upside there with his size and length. Yeah, I would say they did enough, but at the end of the day, like, these guys have to go put it together. That's AG's job, too, to make this whole thing work, because everyone always brings up the defensive line, it'll make your secondary's job easier. Well, now you improved your secondary, and it's going to make your front seven's job a lot easier, because, again, you're not having to cover these guys. You have a secondary that can cover these guys for at least 5 seconds, 4 to 5 seconds. It gives enough time for Adham, these guys, to get home. As before, last year, that secondary, they were getting cooked quite often, besides Kirby Joseph. He had some rough moments, but he turned it around. For the most part, they looked rough. So I think the defense as a whole got better, but we'll see.
Absolutely. And you would think that the defense should come out of the gate looking a lot better and not get off to a historically bad start. I mean, we talk about the 10-game sample size to end the year. Their defense was very, very good, certainly enough to win a lot of games, given the fact that they, for pretty much the totality of the year, had a great offense. I mean, you saw it. They were 8-2 in the last 10 games. That is obviously well and good. I'm more a fan of looking at things in the totality of what you do for a season. They got off to a historically bad start. Hopefully we can just throw that in the trash and hope that that never happens again, given the fact that Aiden Hutchinson won't have those rookie growing pains in his second year. James Houston wasn't even playing. Their secondary was completely revamped this past offseason. Maybe their defense will be just fine. I think it will be much better. I think the goal should be to be a top 20 defense throughout the whole of the season. With the Lions offense, which you expect to be at the very worst top 10, that looks like those are division-winning offense and defense combination.
And like Neil says, instead of saying a top 15 defense, just say kind of the top half. Top half. Defensively, which I think they can be. I really do. They did a lot of work this offseason to fix those issues. I'll tell you what, we'll go to break, and when we get back, I want to kind of stay on this conversation and revisit a couple things. And again, it is Steve Eiserman's birthday. So happy birthday, Steve Eiserman. And even having the 9th overall pick.
1919.
Happy birthday, bud. You didn't get the number 1, but he's still going to do just fine. When we come back, I want to get more into this NFL talk a little bit, kind of stay on the Lions, and later in the show we'll kind of revisit the all-rookie teams and talk a little more about that. But before we do that, could you tell us about our friends over at Cintron?
Yeah, Cintron is the official energy drink of the number 9 pick Detroit Red Wings. And right now they have an exclusive offer for Woodward sports fans. If you go to drinkcintron.com/Woodward, you can get the variety pack, the 6-pack variety pack for just $15 plus free shipping. My favorite is the classic. I think Neil said yesterday his favorite is the cranberry. I don't know if anyone else
I would attest to that
in there. Cranberry. All right. Well, that is drinkcintron.com/Woodward. Try today.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
Get a shot up. This is for the win. All All of Detroit's sports teams live on Woodward. All of Detroit's sports coverage lives on Woodward Sports. Driving the best in Detroit sports coverage.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show at woodwardsports.com. If you ever miss an episode of ours, please feel free to check out at woodwardsports.com all of the past episodes, the clips, all the other shows that we have going on. Later today, you will have Big D Energy from 11 to 1, Ermanni and Edwards from 2 to 4, and then the heavyweights from 5 to 7. Check out all the shows wherever you watch them, whether that be woodwardsports.com, YouTube, or the podcasts.
And we're off and running, going into the second hour on the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Gabby D. Phillips, and Alex Westfall, as usual. And Sam Flannel, I got a question for you. And this was per Lions Wire. They tweeted this out, which I thought was very interesting. They tweeted out, the 2022 Detroit Lions were the NFL's youngest team in terms of snap-weighted average age, and one of the 5 youngest in nearly 20 years. So last year's team was one of the youngest teams in nearly 20 years. And not what they did in the offseason, what they did in the draft, drafting some guys, Sam, that are rookies that are going to play. So they're getting a little bit younger. What is your confidence level in the Lions this year to, at least live up to the expectations, even with more young players a part of this roster?
Well, I mean, they also got some veterans in the secondary.
They did.
So let's be fair on that too. I think that will be absolutely huge for this team. You definitely didn't want to come into this season with Jerry Jacobs and Will Harris and Jeff Okudah starting games. I'm no disrespect to them. It's just they have obviously upgraded majorly. Obviously, you've got some rookies like Jack Campbell and Sam Laporta who you think will step in and play right away. Jahmyr Gibbs, we're hoping, makes a huge impact right away. He better be in the 12th overall pick, and certainly over the course of his career. And you talk about how young they were last year. That might explain some of their early season struggles, especially defensively. And I alluded to this in the last segment. Aiden Hutchinson, for how great that he was and for how great of a regular season that he had, the beginning of the season was a bit of a question mark. Even me, the biggest Aiden Hutchinson slappy you will find at this network by far, called for him to have 12 sacks to be Defensive Rookie of the Year. Even I had some questions at the beginning. Besides for that Washington half where he had 3 sacks, I was kind of waiting for him to get it going, and he did. James Houston, he didn't even play at the beginning of last season, and you expect him to get better, maybe get more snaps, be more than just a situational pass rusher. The Lions are obviously not going to turn into some veteran team overnight, just full of like wily, experienced people, but you also got, I think that Aiden Hutchinson will take that next step into being a star. I think guys like Penei Sewell and Amon-Ra St. Brown, their third year, are already stars and are only going to get better. We hope that Jamison Williams comes onto the field after that 6-game suspension and makes an impact. I actually think when you look at what they did in free agency, when you look at the draft, when you look at this being the 3rd season under Brad Holmes, I think they have a better mix of veterans and young players than you think, particularly on that offensive line, which is their strength, littered with veterans. Taylor Decker, Frank Ragnow, who, in my opinion, is the 2nd or 3rd best center in the NFL. Jonah Jackson. It's a good mix. I think that a lot of, the mistakes, and even Dan Campbell for that regard, I know we often forget about him. He's had some coaching blunders in the first couple of years of his career. He's another one that was young, inexperienced, and sort of learning on the job. And he did so much to galvanize the team at the end of last year, got them to keep fighting when it was looking real bleak, when they were 1-6 and we were talking about tanking.
Right.
So I think they have a good mix of veterans and young players. What say you, Jeff?
And JB, quickly, I want to get your thoughts, or not quickly, but just your thoughts. And then after I'll go, because I want to hear where you guys are coming from. The age, right? The average age of the Detroit Lions, one of the youngest teams in 20 years. This year, they add veterans. What's your confidence level in this team to be able to live up to expectations despite being still a very young football team? This is only just a year ago. They were the youngest.
They're still a young football team, so there's room for improvement. They're always going to grow, and adding these vets only helps that out a lot more. They've been through seasons. They know how hard and how tough these games can be, and later on in the season how you're not always going to be up for the next game. But they're going to instill something in them to teach them that, hey, you know what? I know you're going through some things, but you got to get back out there. You got to play. Every single down counts. And I think it's going to help the team in the long run. It's going to show these young guys that, hey, even though I'm tired, and we only got maybe 2 minutes left in this game, we're still going to pull this win out. We have to do this. We have to pull together as a team and brothers together out there on one field.
What about you, Gabby? Any fear of how young this team is with big expectations this year?
No fear at all. You saw what they did last year with them being so young, and I think adding specific veterans to this team will not only allow the rookies to have that mentorship and that kind of growth, but I think it also provides that additional value for those going into their sophomore year that may have not had those veterans to look up to previously. I think this will overall help the younger half of the team improve in this season.
No, I agree with all of you guys, too. I'm not worried about the youth being, especially who they added. Like Steve Wilds said on WoodwardSports.com, the Lions had a lot of rookies grow last year. That's why the defense improved. Hutch, Houston, Pascal, Rodriguez, and Joseph. Like, you see the growth from the rookies last year and then into this offseason, who they've added, veterans in the secondary, which they lacked. Jerry Jacobs, UDFA. He was an undrafted free agent, still was pretty solid for the Lions, but still he shouldn't be your number 2. And that's not disrespect to Jerry Jacobs. It's just if he's your number 2 right now, you just don't have a ton of depth. Last year, Jeff, I argued he shouldn't be your number 1 corner. He just isn't fit for, and now he's in Atlanta. He's their number 2, and rightfully so. But the Lions did a lot of good things this offseason too. Cam Sutton, Emmanuel Mosley, not even just veterans, but guys that come from respected organizations. That's the bigger thing to take away too. And going into the season, this is why you have former players as coaches. Like, they're the best people to go to in these situations for young players. I mean, AG's your defensive coordinator. AG, he's not a scrub. Like, AG had a great career in the NFL and was very productive. I believe he had over 40 career interceptions. So this is the time you have, former players and coaches. This is where they thrive in these types of situations for young players. And Gabby's right. Even last year, they went 8-2 down the stretch with a younger team. And to your point, they added a good mix of veterans this year. They should be poised to go out and win the division.
I mean, it's not even just that they're veteran players. These are, when you look at Cam Sutton, for at least part of the year, he was the number 1 corner on Pittsburgh, and he allowed a passer rating when targeted of less than 70. Emmanuel Mosley obviously had a injury-ravaged year, but when he played, he also allowed
and by the way, that division ain't no scrub division. Like, if you're playing on Pittsburgh, you're facing Cleveland, you're facing the Ravens, you're facing Bengals, like pretty good quarterbacks.
You're facing Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins twice a year. Phenomenal. And then you got C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who was tied for the league lead in interceptions. That is one thing that I know we all know that it happened, and I know we talk about it, but I don't think we realize how phenomenal it was what Brad Holmes did with this secondary, turning one of their biggest weaknesses, a part of their team that we obviously know they needed to address, into not just a strength, but a strength with veterans, with smart contracts. They didn't even break the bank. Right. You look at the Chicago Bears, for example. They're a team that had tons of cap space, and they made some good moves, getting guys like Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards and trading for DJ Moore. But you look at the Detroit Lions with significantly less cap space. I think they made smarter deals, and those free agency moves might turn out to be better than what the Bears did. And their veterans in the secondary where they needed them most. The more I talk, I know I'm kind of drinking the Kool-Aid right now. The more I talk, I talk myself into the fact that maybe they can have that top half defense. I know that's a lot to ask. But the funny thing is, though, Jeff, they don't need to have a top half defense. Just be better. Just be more consistent throughout the totality of the season. Be top 20 at the worst. And you're still going to win this division because their offense, I don't see it regressing. I see it at the absolute worst, maybe going from 4th in scoring to 6th or 7th, still top 10.
Yeah, because
that's enough.
It's not like personnel-wise they changed dramatically. I mean, even post T.J. Hockenson and DJ being injured, they still produced. So even with this offense as currently stands, they should be just fine this year. I don't know if they'll go, they'll be as dominant as last year because, again, they have a year of tape on Ben Johnson. So adjustments are going to be made, but that's Ben's job to make more adjustments. And I think they'll still be one of the better offenses in the NFL. Cornelia says, WoodwardSports.com, it actually shouldn't take too long for this defense to come together at all. We're not running a very complex style of defense, and the personnel package we have is pretty spot on. Yeah, I mean, again, that's for up to AG, and you saw the success he had with young players. Yeah, like, we bring up Dan, and Dan's been doing a great job as just a mentor for all the rookies last year and just young players in general. But AG defensively, and I remember Easy, I got to give him credit because even last year he was defending the Glenn all year. Even though the defense was horrific, he always said it's a young defense. Like, give them time, and I mean, Easy was right. Later in the season, they turned it around, and not too many things really changed.
I'll tell you what, when Easy is right about something, he is the most obnoxious person on the planet.
Oh, you don't got to tell me about it.
But I was glad that he was right, because I was in the camp, especially after they scored 45 points against Seattle and
that
lost.
Was bad.
That was terrible.
Bad.
And didn't force Seattle to punt one time. I was having major questions about Aaron Glenn. I actually hopped on the Woodward heavyweights that day, and I had to wear a hot dog suit because I was last in our pick'em challenge. And me and him had a screaming match. I mean, from the depths of hell. And you know what? I argued that there is no way, shape, or form that they can get a pass for this. And he was also saying that Jared Goff was also fairly responsible for them losing because he threw a pick six. But I'll tell you what, I was happy to be wrong, because they were young, they were inexperienced, they had a horrific game. The defense did, absolutely, but they got it together.
Yeah,
I'll give them credit.
They did. They started piecing the puzzle together later in the season. I want to bring this up, and I'll get your guys' thoughts on this. David says, David Crossley, welcome to the show. Thank you for tuning in. I think you guys are underrating the growth of the young players on defense and the additions. They will be top 7 on defense and top 7 on offense.
Oh my god. Well, then 13-14 wins. Right?
I mean, top 7 on offense and defense is pretty good, Sam Flannel.
Oh, well, yeah. I think that's a little bit
like
aggressive.
Now you're in the waters with like Philly. Like, not just in the waters as a contender, but like statistically, like Philly's going to be one of the best defenses, one of the best offenses. Like, if you're in that like San Francisco type of realm where they had the best defense and a top offense, you're instantly a Super Bowl contender. Instantly.
If you're top 7 in offense and defense, you're looking at challenging for home field advantage through the duration of the playoffs. I think that's a little bit aggressive, but top 7 offense, certainly not. I think their offense should absolutely, at the very worst, be about as good as last year.
Wow.
Top 7 offense for sure.
And by the way, I appreciate you, Paul Thomas. Thank you for the $10.
Yeah.
Good show, guys.
Paul
Appreciate
Thomas
you for tuning in,
man.
Paul Thomas. Always in the chat. JB, top 7 on offense and defense. Is that crazy, or is that in the realm of possibilities?
It's not crazy, but
okay, JB. The voice of reason.
I'm trying to be the voice of reason here. It's not crazy, but to just think that these rookies can just come in and make an immediate impact, I think that's asking a lot from them, especially with the learning curve they might have to take in steps to being that great. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, but I'm hopeful for this. I'll say that. I'll drink the Kool-Aid along with Sam as well, too.
Gabby, are you drinking the Kool-Aid?
A little bit, solely because the fact that I feel like I'm partially to blame for the Red Wings being at 9 yesterday, because I said that they were going to be at 9, so I'm just going to like speak it into existence that they're going to be top 7 offense and defense. I think there has to be a lot of improvement overall. I think we're going to see that right off the bat, depending on the relationship that AG has with these new players. But as JB said, if you're listening to how Holmes is talking about these new guys coming in from the draft, he has said for very close to all of them that he expects there to be a growth period. That there's going to be a little bit of wiggle room where you got to give them some time to sit back and learn. So I don't think he's looking for them to come right off the bat and have these crazy numbers that we're all shocked about. Maybe he's setting us up to have a little bit lowered expectations so that if they do come and do that, we're fully bought in. But they're new, they're young, and you got to give them some time to mature into those roles.
Yeah, certainly, especially with the expectations they have this year. I mean, to Gabby's point, if Jahmyr Gibbs comes out and he's making some early mistakes, then all right, just rely on David Montgomery. Like, it's not that big a deal. You don't have to play Jahmyr just because you drafted him at 12. You have to play him in terms of the season, but initially, right off the bat, you can ease these guys in. Like, you re-sign Alex Anzalone, still got Malcolm Rodriguez. Jack Campbell, we agree that Jahmyr and Jack need to be premier players, but my point is they don't have to be day one. I mean, they'll be eased in, especially Jack Campbell, but I think both those guys are going to be able to make an impact day one. I just think the leash will be a little more shorter for the rookies than opposed to Alex Anzalone or David Montgomery.
Well, and that's fair. I think with Jack Campbell, it's more imperative that he is a plug-and-play player from day one, because when it comes to the Detroit Lions running game, David Montgomery is obviously going to be that every down bell cow. I mean, maybe not a bell cow, but he has that capability.
Like Jamal Williams last year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, David Montgomery has had a 1,000-yard season. He's had every single year he's been in the NFL, he has had over 1,000 total yards. And that's who Jahmyr Gibbs is going to have to complement in the beginning. Obviously, we hope that Jahmyr Gibbs at some point turns into a guy who's just as productive as, say, an Alvin Kamara or even Christian McCaffrey. I know that sounds crazy, but when you're the number 12 overall pick, those kind of expectations are what is placed on you. But Jack Campbell, I don't know if the Alex Anzalone, Malcolm Rodriguez being there is
I think Jack Campbell walks in, he's your best linebacker,
Sure.
but maybe the leash on him might be a little, to send Jack Campbell out right away to wear the green dot and to be your captain, like that's a little lofty expectations day one for a team who's expected to win the division.
And to be fair, I think I might be disrespecting Malcolm Rodriguez a little bit. I'm not trying to. He was an all-rookie team linebacker.
Like
these guys
got to earn it. It starts, in training camp. Like last year, Malcolm Rodriguez. Remember Hard Knocks? All the clips we saw. Malcolm Rodriguez, like Calvin Shepard was just gloating about Malcolm Rodriguez. I think Jack Campbell will have a similar impact this year. But we asked the question: did the Lions improve their defense? Well, I got a defense for you that consistently improves, and that's Guardian Alarm, because guys, customized solutions from real experts, 24/7 professional monitoring and technology backed by people. Your safety and security not only deserves technology that's been proven to work, but by people that have been proven to care. Call 1-800-STAY-OUT for more information.
It's a great day to get some Centron in your life. Okay. There it is. Centron, here we go. Gotta grab the cranberry. Oh wait, it's 2 for $4. Gotta double up with the classic as well. Centron World, baby. Centron, available at select Krogers, and if you wanna know how, go to @CentronWorld.com. You get dope like me. You know what? Why wait? Great taste, guaranteed.
Make sure it's seen and heard. Jumper. Tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show. If you're watching at woodwardsports.com, thanks so much for checking us out. Be sure to check out all the shows that we have going on every single day, Monday through Friday, starting at 8 a.m., going to 7 p.m. You can check out all the clips on the website or on our YouTube, where I suggest you like and subscribe, or listen to us wherever you listen to your podcast. Download and leave a 5-star review.
We're back here, Morning Woodward Show on the Woodward Sports Network. Jeff Iafrate, your host for today, and filling in for Adham Beydoun, who is under the weather for another day in a row. It's Sam Flannel, my good friend, a good friend of the show as well. And a lot of things happened yesterday, just to catch up. I mean, the Red Wings, they stay at 9. I was upset. I got to watch the Lakers beat the Warriors in a very awkward fashion. I mean, Lonnie Walker, 15 points in the fourth quarter. And then you watched the Tigers early in the day get a win over the Guardians, a divisional win, and now they're only 2.5 games. I can't believe I'm saying this. 2.5 games, and this speaks to how bad the AL Central is. If we're if we're keeping it a stack right now, 2.5 games out of the division. Sam Flannel, is this true? Like, is this false? Like, how should Tigers fans feel right now? 2.5 games out of the division. Is this false reality? Is this a team that should? And I still agree they should sell at the deadline. But you're a Tigers fan. How you feeling right now?
I'm feeling tempered excitement. Obviously,
that's how it should be.
I mean, obviously, I don't think that the Tigers are going to compete for the division as the season goes on. But I'm not just going to poo-poo all of this. They've won 6 out of their last 7 after having that disappointing loss on Sunday, in which a sweep over the Cardinals would have been massive. They go out to Cleveland, a division rival, and beat them. And when you look at the Detroit Tigers, Riley Green is playing much better. Eric Haas is playing better, and that's very, very important. And Eduardo Rodriguez is actually pitching like an ace. Alex Lang looks like one of the best closers in the MLB.
6-1 over the last 7.
Absolutely. The problem is that they're pitching as a whole. When you look at guys like Michael Lorenzen, Michael Boyd, Matthew... who am I missing? Joey Wentz.
Yeah, Joey Wentz, who actually didn't play too bad yesterday.
Yeah, but they're not really really doing a whole lot.
It's the weakest, that bullpen besides Erod. I mean, once you really get down to it, they don't have too many starting pitchers there. It's a tough situation.
They're kind of it's surprising to me that they are this good. But hey, if Tarek Skubal can come back, if Matt Manning can come back, Kerry Carpenter, Bo Brisky, Casey Mize, I don't know what to expect out of all of them. Maybe they can at least keep things interesting as the season goes on.
That's it. That's all I ask.
That's all I ask.
That's all. And Steven says it best. Steven, and I didn't even bring this up, but this is a fact. They've been watchable since benching Javi Baez.
Absolutely. And Javi Baez has been playing much better.
And a credit to AJ Hinch, like to do that as a manager, to make those moves and to really squeeze everything you can out of this roster to be the second in the AL Central. That's significant. Even if this year we talked about what our expectations for the Tigers were, and Adam, we always joke about it on the show, he wants nothing to do with Tigers talk, but the reality is, you got to mention them. I mean, they're almost 500 right now, Sam Flannel. And even though they're 6-1 over the last 7, AJ Hinch doing a phenomenal job. Javi Baez, like you said, playing better. By the way, side note, did you see Akil Baddoo, the nut shot yesterday that he got caught with? Because that looked painful, if you guys didn't catch that already. But regardless, just had to mention that. Tigers are doing something. At least they're doing something, and they're at least watchable. That's the biggest thing to take away, is they're watchable. Because, listen, I watched every Pistons game this year. And you could tell if you watched the show during the season, my facial expression showed it every morning. I watched every single Pistons game. It's tough. I'm not going to lie to you. And the fact that I can tune into the Tigers this year and at least just enjoy it, and you can go down to the ballpark and you're not guaranteed a loss every single time, it's a great feeling.
I mean, and that's why at the beginning, obviously, I was very, very disappointed with how they played, but I was another one of those, while people like Neil Rule were saying that this could be a historically bad team, I was kind of like, hold on a second. They started the season off with a gauntlet. I mean, they got swept by the Rays. Who hasn't this year? They played the Red Sox. They played the Orioles. They played the Yankees. Obviously, you're not going to get off to a good start, but once you start getting those games against maybe the Kansas City Royals, the Chicago White Sox are an absolute dumpster fire this year. Maybe that's a team that they can stack some W's against. If they win this series in Cleveland, if they can at least play 500 against the Minnesota Twins when they play each other, who is the leader in the division right now, maybe even into June and July, the Tigers can at least be competitive. This division blows. I mean, the Twins even. Carlos Correa is playing terrible. I mean, they got a better coaching, they got a better pitching staff, more consistent, but in this division, it's sort of the blessing and the curse. It might be a little bit of fool's gold, I understand that, but just be interesting. You don't have to just always look at it as, oh, big deal, they won. Enjoy it, man. I'm tired of the people almost wanting to be right so bad that they're just like, oh, big deal, they stack up wins. They're not going to be good anyway. Just enjoy it.
Yeah, that's, again, to bring up, okay, they're not going to be good anyway. Yeah, no dip. But we can at least enjoy what we've been seeing so far. Broder nailed it, too. Cautiously optimistic. Yeah. I think that's a perfect way to describe it there, Broder. Jack Harrington, Tampa looks like the best team in the AL right now. I'd agree with that. There's one more comment I wanted to read. Steve Reinhardt. Defense and bullpen have been outstanding. The offense is hitting. No disrespect tolerated. Yeah, spot on, Steve. Yeah. Travis says Tigers are sellers. I still believe they'll be sellers regardless. But the fact that, like you said before and you alluded to, it's not even the fact of what we think the Tigers are going to do. The fact that they're right now 2.5 games out of the division, and they're actually winning games, and they're 6-1 over the last 7. This is all significant to some extent. Even though it doesn't mean anything, I guess, big picture-wise this season, it's just nice to, because again, always the discussion is who's in last place, the Tigers or the Pistons, right? And me and Adam went back and forth for probably a week straight, a couple months ago. I felt it was the Tigers. He felt it was the Pistons. The fact that we're even getting anything out of this Tigers team right now, I have to even admit, it's impressive.
Well, and all that being said, all of my optimism, I still think when it's all said and done that the Detroit Tigers will end up trading Eduardo Rodriguez. Because the reality is that Eduardo Rodriguez, he's always been a solid pitcher, but this is the first time in his career he's really pitched at a Cy Young level, albeit not on a huge sample size, but he would be their all-star right now. He would be, if they were doing Cy Young voting, he would certainly get some votes. So that means that there is going to be a team that is actually contending, like, say, maybe the New York Yankees or something like that, that might want to overpay for him, might give the Tigers a haul. And now that it's Scotty Harris making the trades instead of Al Avila, he who never won a trade, maybe I would trust Scott Harris to be able to get something for Eduardo Rodriguez and for the farm system to be able to develop them. Because Scott Harris, I think that he's going to be a damn good G. Look at what he did in San Francisco.
I was going to say, and right away, look at what he's done. I mean, this is going to be a long process, but even the guys he's brought in, at least productive.
McKinstry.
Yes, like they've made an immediate impact. So Scott Harris deserves credit as well, him and AJ Hinch. Broder, I love this point he brought up, and Broder knows Chris Fedor. My guy, Chris Fedor, deserves some credit for holding down the pitching staff through this madness, seriously overachieving. And if you guys don't know, Broder, Michigan baseball, Chris Fedor, Michigan baseball, and Sam Flannel, I know you're a huge fan of Michigan baseball, and I just wanted to bring that up. It's Sam Flannel, resident Michigan baseball fan here, does not miss a game. Todd says, whoever is on top of the Jim Mora playoffs quote is so spot on. Corbin says, agree, Sam, Detroit has a new big three, Yzerman, Holmes, and Harris. All right. We're just going to leave Weaver out of there. But it's fair. All right. He has to prove it with the wins. I get that, Corbin. But still, Detroit, regardless, very optimistic about what they're doing with every franchise. Just some might take a little longer than others, quite frankly.
So I have a question from start to finish. Who do you think has a longer time to rebuild? Obviously not over the same years, but is it the Pistons, the Red Wings, or the Tigers? Who do you think is going to take longer from start to finish for the rebuild?
I think that has to do with how much money the Tigers are willing to spend. And you know who I'm talking about. So that's the biggest question, is if they're willing to spend money. And that was Adam's argument to me when he brings up the Tigers is, well, they can spend money. Teams can spend money, but will your team spend money is the biggest question. And I'm not talking spending money on Javi Baez. I'm talking about real signings. And again, so with Scott Harris, it could be different. So I think the Tigers and the Pistons this offseason, if they land the number 1 overall pick, big if, and they have assets, you get Cade back, they can be a play-in team this year, or at least challenge for it. So it's a tough question. I would say the NBA naturally, because you really only need one superstar player or a couple star players to make any noise. Like the Tigers, we'll see, but I don't know if they could turn things around as quickly as the Pistons can this offseason. But we'll see. Maybe I'm completely wrong.
No, that is a tough one. It looks like the Tigers are trying to go the route of player development, not really making those big signings, but I also hear some people say, like, oh, it's going to be 5 years before the Tigers do anything. And I think that's a little bit of an over-exaggeration. I think that's a little bit of a jaded mindset. But at the same time, the Pistons, I know that Cade Cunningham was out for 70 games. I know that Bojan missed a large stretch of the end of the year. I would still say that there's no excuse for looking as bad as they did at times, being the worst team in the NBA with the worst record. So maybe we assume that when Cade Cunningham comes back, that adds quite a few wins. And whatever draft pick they get, whether it be Brandon Miller, whether it be Scoot Henderson, whether it be Victor Wembanyama, or even, God forbid, other, because that would mean they got the 4th or 5th pick.
Right.
Who's closer? Man, I would probably say the Pistons, just because they have more high-end talent right now that's proven. It's so tough, though.
Yeah, and you guys discussed this yesterday on Big D Energy, too, with the how the Tigers and Scott Harris specifically are going to approach this rebuild. It might be a little more of a lengthy process. Just like you said, player development. The Pistons at least have a core group of players they like. Now they have to add veterans, but, we're debating, crap at this point. Like, let's be real. Like, both teams aren't in a great position, so it's whoever. Tomato. Who cares? It doesn't matter at this point. Voice of reason? JB, break it down. Who is it? Tigers or Pistons?
I gotta agree with Sam on this. It's the Pistons.
Okay.
There's more proven talent there, and when we get Victor Wembanyama, we will be great.
Speak it into existence.
Yes.
Manifestation. I love it, JB. I'll tell you what. We'll go to break. When we get back, you knew eventually, if you get me and Sam Flannel on the show, we got to talk about what the Lakers did last night and go over some of the playoff games we got to see yesterday and so much more. But before we do that, I'm going to tell you about our friends over at Big Boy, because, guys, Strawberry Fest is back at Big Boy. You could try classic breakfast items like some strawberry hotcakes or mouth-watering red velvet waffle. If you're not feeling breakfast, try the strawberry bacon chicken wrap or cool off with their refreshing summer splash salad. And don't forget to grab dessert as well, including their berry delicious classic strawberry pie, deep-fried vanilla Oreos, or strawberry hot fudge cake, and more at Big Boy.
How would you like to win not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice? One for you and one for your wife, your girlfriend, or your best bud. Get to Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut and automatically enter for your chance to win. Courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. Lady Jane's, open 7 days a week, walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Since the dawn of moving people, Chevrolet has led the way. The world of transportation is changing. At Feldman Chevrolet, we are leading the charge forward. With every electric vehicle, every mile traveled, one Feldman at a time. The company that puts more Chevys on Michigan roads is now the #1 name for Chevy electric vehicles.
The only sports network in Detroit that starts with a W. You know, because we win. Woodward Sports, Detroit's winning sports network.
We are back on the Morning Woodward Show with Jeff, Flannel, JB, Alex, myself, the whole crew here this morning. If you're watching at woodwardsports.com, please be sure to check out past episodes, clips, and more. If you're watching at YouTube, like and subscribe. And if you're listening wherever you listen to your podcast, please be sure to download and leave a 5-star review.
We're back here at the Morning Woodward Show. And guys, the NBA playoffs were on yesterday, Sam Flynn. I know you were tuning in.
I was.
And I got to catch both games. I fell asleep late because I was prepping for the show, and then by that time I'm already tired. So I didn't get a chance to catch it down the stretch, the Lakers game. But I said, whatever happens, I'm prepared to discuss it. So I went back this morning, watched the highlights, and got to see Lonnie Walker's 15 points in the fourth quarter, and he played extremely well. We're not even going to sit up here and say, LeBron this, LeBron that. I mean, I get LeBron last night had 27, 7, and 9, but again, he was 10 for 25 from the field. He didn't play extremely well, but the Lakers as a whole, though, got the job done.
They did.
And defensively, they also got the job done. And Anthony Davis, 23, 15, 3 steals. And Anthony Davis, to me, this is what they need out of AD on a consistent basis because, again, you see that stat with the even and odd games. Have you seen that? Did you see it before?
I did.
It says even games, it's AD, or it might be vice versa. But regardless, one of the categories he plays well, and then odd he doesn't. So he's literally the definition of inconsistent. AD looked good last night, though, Sam Flannel, and they beat a Warriors team who, again, they struggled last night again, especially down the stretch. Steph Curry missed another go-ahead shot.
I missed 2, actually.
Yeah, he missed a couple. So.
Yeah. You know what? I get really nervous when the Golden State Warriors are going down the court to have the potential to win a game. But when I see it, Steph Curry taking the shot, I'm like, phew, we all know it's not going in. Because he never makes those shots, because he literally never has. You saw that stat. In the last 50 seconds of playoff games in shots to take the lead, Steph Curry in his career 0 of 14. That is not a misprint, people. I was actually surprised.
No, and that's not even you just hating and having a narrative.
Hating.
It's a fact. This is a statistic. Stephen Curry with what was the time left in the specifics of the
50. Okay. Less than 50 seconds of playoff
for
games.
a go-ahead shot. He's 0 in what? 15?
0 for 14.
14. You can't really argue the numbers, but the Lakers are up 3-1 in the series, Sam, and I did say, and I'm here to brag. You bet your ass I was coming in to brag. I did say Lakers in 6, and I was told by Adham Beydoun he didn't agree, and a lot of people didn't agree. And again, the series is 3-1; it's not over. But the reason why I picked the Lakers is the Warriors are the defending champs. The Warriors have had an impressive run over the last handful of years with Kevin Durant, before Kevin Durant, and after Kevin Durant. But this Lakers team is built to beat the Warriors just because of what they have in AD. AD is the biggest X factor in this whole series because of his size. There is nobody on that Warriors roster that can stop AD. You could slow him down or try to contain him like Draymond Green does. He does a pretty good job. But even then, he could still dominate the game defensively. AD is the biggest factor. And it also helps when you're getting production from guys like Austin Reeves, who goes out and gets your 21 and shoots 3 threes and makes 3 threes. So the Lakers as a whole have done enough. And again, they're up 3-1 now. The Warriors, to me, the biggest problem, and you saw this last night, and it's sad because you'll get great games out of Klay, and they won't be able to win the game. And then the following game, Klay struggles. Steph Curry struggles, especially from 3 last night. He was 3 for 14. And they just can't get it done. They're close. I mean, even last night they were so close. But again, fourth quarter debacles later, they scored 17. And then you had Steve Kerr complaining about the refs. I mean, it is what it is. But can we safely say the Lakers have the series in the bag?
Have the Warriors ever actually lost a game, or is it always the refs' fault? That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting from them. And to answer your question, if you notice, and I know a lot of people might disagree, but I haven't wilded out on Twitter too much. I haven't came in here just pounding my chest or anything, because at the end of the day, the job is still not finished. I don't want the Lakers to go into Golden State in Game 5 and just lay down. I fear that they will, because it would make sense, right? They've got some older players like AD and LeBron, guys who have missed time with injury. You might want to coast in this next game and just go all out for Game 6, in which they would have an opportunity to close it out at home. But we all know that's a very, very risky proposition. I'm not ready to just completely say series is over yet, but I'll tell you what, you cannot overstate how massive that win was for the Los Angeles Lakers last night, able to close that one out. Lonnie Walker had his coming out party, a phenomenal fourth quarter. Anthony Davis gave you 23 and 15, but I keep being told that he's day to Davis. But in 3 of the 4 games, he's given you 30 and 20, 20 and 10, 20 and 10, and then 1 bad game. But you can do that in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You can literally go 16 and 12 and win the NBA Finals. So as long as he gives you good games and is very, very impactful defensively at least 3 or 4 times, the Lakers should be just fine, and we see it. Their size bothers Golden State.
Donovan Strong, shout out to Donovan Strong, by the way. He says, I still can't bet against Golden State. I bet more money, or I bet money they come back and win. Again, this is interesting now. Flip the script. Now Curry's down 3-1.
Oh, yeah.
You can do it.
God.
It's been done. On a bigger stage. You can do it, Golden State.
Beat the man!
You should be able
gotta
to.
beat the man!
You got to. Thank you. And I want to get to some of these comments, too, because I know people chiming in. They just love NBA talk, right? Jack says LeBron fans blame refs. Well, okay. Kid Keith says if LeBron is playing, it is probably the ref's fault. Man Guy Friend Bro says it's actually a joke the number of fouls the Lakers get, though. Yeah, I mean, again, they're much more. They're a different team. I mean, the Warriors are a little more finesse. They're going to rely on the perimeter a lot more. The Lakers, they want to take it to the interior. They want to get physical. They want to play a physical brand of basketball. AD, LeBron. I mean, these guys, they don't shy away from contact at the rim. So they're at least trying more than the Warriors. But yeah, there were some missed calls. I'll admit it. You watched the game, but did it affect the series to where the Warriors should be up 3-1? Got to find a way to close these games. I mean, I can't. They scored 17 in the fourth quarter. That ain't the ref's fault. So, Rich says Lakers a different team with a healthy AD. Absolutely. Mr. Ray says Draymond is their best chance, and he's 6'6", 6'7", guarding a 7-footer. Yeah, no question. Man Guy Friend Bro, Jeff, the Lakers doubled the entire NBA in foul shots. Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, if you want to blame the refs for why they're in the second round, about to be in the Western Conference Finals, then, I mean, go ahead, I guess. Booner says, sorry, I'm done. Great series. Oh, Booner says, you got to beat the man to be the man. Well, Curry beat LeBron how many times in the finals? Trust me, Booner. I love you, but you don't want to go down this road. You will lose that argument, and you know that too. So, please, I love you. Just don't even try. Big Show picks. Jeff looks like a kid going in for his high school pictures with that shirt. I look good?
Jesus.
I look good. That's all I got to
Yes.
say. Yeah, you like the stripes? Okay, thank you.
Stripes.
Thank you. See, Rich says, Jeff, that's a very bold fashion statement. Thank you. See, I'm trying. But then people are coming at me like Booner that he wants to be upset that LeBron won last night. We haven't even talked about LeBron. Did you hear? Did I say anything to gloat about LeBron? You didn't say anything.
No.
But for some reason, Booner's already offended. So it tells you a lot about the Steph defenders. It really does.
The Steph defenders. Maybe tell your boy to not go 3 of 14 from 3. That is 21%, but it's all the ref's fault. Maybe tell Steph Curry to actually make a go-ahead shot in the last 50 seconds and not brick one, get an offensive rebound, and try to take a step back 3 over AD and brick that one. And then maybe this. How about we try this one? Remember when Draymond Green throws the ball away,
Yes.
AD gets it in the corner, he gets tied up. The Warriors actually win the jump ball. It goes to Steph Curry. He actually grabs it. He falls down. Maybe call timeout and not just throw it over your head out of bounds. I didn't mean to touch the bike there, but that's exactly what happened.
I don't want to talk
There
about
is
that.
a lot of evidence that Steph Curry is just not the guy in the final minute of playoff games in which they have a chance to tie or take the lead. You don't want to go down that road. It's never Steph Curry's fault. I get it. He dished out a lot of assists as a pure point guard. He had a good game last night, but 3 of 14 from 3 for the best shooter of all time, which we all agree he is, that is 21%. If you make 1 or 2 of those, the Warriors win the game, and I think they're in full control of the series, but it's never Steph Curry's fault. It's always someone else.
I'm pulling out the numbers again.
He's going.
Puts
You got him. You got him going,
Look at
guys.
facts.
You got him going. Big Dan Davis says, what do the Warriors have to do to come back and send this series to 7? Well, I'll give you a hint. Jesus. You need Jesus. Or you need Thanos. You need all the Infinity Stones. Because, again, to come back down 3-1 with how they're playing, that's tough. Now, can it be done? Of course. Don't get out the Warriors. But They gonna need Jesus. I'll just keep it like that. Thank you. Nine Drink says, did Jeff scan his shirt to clock in this morning? Maybe. I mean, that'd be smart though. If I could clock in with my shirt, I'd wear the shirt every single day. I wouldn't even. No, that's a great thing. Bob's Big Boy says Kerr has gone big and lost, and has gone small ball and lost. Clay and Draymond just too old. Poole too immature. Lakers are dictating the style of play, and Lonnie Walker swung the series last night. That's spot on. But JB, the Warriors cooked.
No, the Warriors are not cooked. If anything, Steve Kerr needs to take a moment, go back in the locker room, and readjust the strategy against the Lakers. Because as Flannel said, AD is the big factor here. There's no one as tall as AD on the Warriors roster that can match up well with him. So now you have to play smart. You have to somehow get him into foul trouble. Make LeBron the only factor out there. Lonnie Walker, this game was just an anomaly. I don't know where this dude came from to come off the bench to score 15 points, but somehow, some way, on the 26-year anniversary where Kobe did the exact same thing, this guy pulls this out from nowhere. So there's that factor, and also you need production from your bench players in Golden State. Jordan Poole last night going over, that cannot happen.
It can't happen, but I'll tell you what can happen if you need insurance. You check out our friends over at Swiss Insurance, because let me ask you a question. Did Brett Holmes do his job? Did he nail all these draft picks? Well, we don't know, but we expect them to all be hits, and I'll tell you a company that always is hits and never misses. It's Swiss Insurance. Draft a company that'll provide you with the most cost-effective plan and protect you like the best O-line in the league. Email Swiss Insurance today. It's mark@swissins.com. That's mark@swissins.com, or go to www.swissins.com for more information.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
By now you know me, Christina Gennari, as the obvious choice in real estate. And you know my website, soldchristina.com, as your #1 resource for buying or selling your home. Myself, along with my amazing staff, pride ourselves on making your home buying and selling experience a relaxing and easy one. Come see why we are the obvious choice. Christina Gennari at soldchristina.com, the obvious choice in real estate.
You have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper, tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show at woodwardsports.com. Please be sure to check out the chat. Get involved, whether you're calling, you're chatting, you're in the poll. Please check that out. And our past episodes, whether you're looking at woodwardsports.com, YouTube, where you can like and subscribe, or our podcast, where you can download and leave a 5-star review.
We're back here in the Morning Woodward Show, woodwardsports.com, and for really the last stretch before we go to mailbag, and don't forget 9:50 we have mailbag, so get your questions ready for that. We'll all be here to answer them. This just popped up, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. Dan Campbell actually just went on Greenlight with Chris Long, the podcast, which is actually they do a really good job. Shout out to Chris Long. And Dan talked about Hendon Hooker, and he had some interesting comments because they asked him about him. And I think Chris asked him specifically, what are your expectations for Hendon Hooker? And he said, quote, we did go into this offseason saying that we wanted to bring in some competition at quarterback, Campbell said. We didn't know exactly what that might be, who that would be at the time, but we did like Hooker. We knew he was coming off an injury, but there was something about him that was appealing. He was very mature. He looks the part. He's got the big arm. He's just got to learn to play in the NFL. He's a pro. And I like the fact that he's older. We all kind of like the fact that he was older. I think you want your quarterback to be more mature. And then it follows it up. And by the way, this is Pride of Detroit. Shout out to those guys. They wrote an article breaking it down. And they said this is a redshirt for him, Campbell said. He's got to get his leg right first, and then he'll learn under Jared, and then we'll see what happens. See that last part of that. He'll learn under Jared, and then we'll see what happens. Don't tell me that they don't see something at least before in Hendon Hooker. Like, that's the thing. You have to really read what these guys say. Like, with Dan talking about Hendon. Now, could Hendon easily not work out and they stick with Jared? Of course. But to say that you shouldn't be concerned about Hendon Hooker is just ridiculous. But when you hear those quotes, Sam, and Dan and how he feels on Hendon Hooker, just in general. And by the way, Broder just put it in the chat. Check this article out. Dan Campbell believes Goff will mentor Hendon Hooker happily. It's on WoodwardSports.com. Wrote by Matt Broder, by the way. So check that article out. I just put it in the chat. But what are your thoughts? You hear comments. You hear those comments. Where's your mind go?
Well, they're not just going to throw away a draft pick. And the thing that Dan Campbell didn't mention that is my favorite thing about Hendon Hooker were those 58 touchdowns and 5 interceptions he threw in his last 2 years
the
at
numbers.
Tennessee combined. That is over an 11.5 to 1 touchdown to interception ratio, including the 5 touchdowns he put up on an Alabama defense that had our new friend Brian Branch and Will Anderson and guys like Jordan Battle and Eli Ricks and all of that. The reality is that Hendon Hooker, for all intents and purposes, was a steal. If he turns into something, if he turns into that big-armed quarterback who's got all the accuracy, the arm strength, and even mobility in the world, the guy that he may have been a first-round pick, just if not for an ACL injury, he might be the quarterback of the future. We're not talking about a guy in Brad Holmes who's just going to throw away draft picks. It's not just a linear conversation. We're all on board with what Jared Goff did last year. We're all on board with what he can do this season and maybe next year, but it's a conversation that has to be had, and Dan Campbell knows this. Jared Goff, there is no way in hell, no circumstance in which he is ever going to be worth $50 million a year. Am I saying that's what he's going to ask for his extension or his next contract? I'm not saying that for sure, but what if he has another Pro Bowl season? What if he has 2 more Pro Bowl years? What if they win a playoff game or 2? It wouldn't even be that much outside of the realm of possibility. Actually, there's one scenario in which I wouldn't mind paying Jared Goff $50 million if they win a Super Bowl.
Okay.
Obviously,
right, I was
that
waiting
one,
where you go with that.
Yeah, that
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, if you win a Super Bowl, you can have everything. You can have everything in the kitchen sink. I don't care what you have. If you bring a Super Bowl, I'm 100% okay. That's why the whole conversation with the Rams thing, like the Rams, did they win? Who won the trade? I mean, who cares? They got a Super Bowl. So, I'll take a Super Bowl every day and twice on Sundays.
Yeah, ask Vikings fans, ask Cincinnati Bengals fans, ask Buffalo Bills fans, teams that have went to multiple Super Bowls, the Vikings and the Bills 4, the Bengals 3, and they don't even have one. A Super Bowl, it's such... You cannot overstate the importance of a Super Bowl. And to be honest, Sean McVay decided that Jared Goff wasn't the guy. We're going to get somebody who is better that can fit the system. They got Matthew Stafford. He had a phenomenal season and a good playoff run, and they won. So the Rams, until or unless the Detroit Lions win a Super Bowl, I will say that they always won the trade. Super Bowls are important, guys.
And Chris says it on WoodwardSports.com, it's coach talk. Those comments motivate Goff, give Hooker hope for a chance. It's always possible. We need to stop looking so far into what is said. And again, I think, I don't know if you're talking about us, but maybe people do look too far into it, but we're just simply reading the comments. And one thing that Rod Beard always told me, who's, again, one of my mentors. He's a legend, especially for Pistons Twitter. And if you follow the Pistons, you know Rod Beard. One thing he always says is, listen to what they say. Listen to what they say. Meaning, when Troy Weavers talks, or Dwayne Casey, listen to what they say. Because people hear what coaches and GMs have to say, and they're like, they're just spewing a bunch of BS, or it's coach talk or general manager talk. No. And sometimes it can be. But sometimes Troy Weaver, and especially Dwayne when he was here at coaching, they'd say things, and you'd revisit it 6 months later, and you'd be like, wait, they said this 6 months ago. So it's not about overlooking things and trying to look at Dan and be like, well, he's saying Hendon's the future. But the fact that he mentioned it, we'll see where this goes. Like, they're open-minded. They're open to the fact that Hendon could be the future of the Lions. And that's what I'm reading. How true is it? That's up to Hendon Hooker to prove that. I can't make Hendon Hooker be a great quarterback. That's up to him. He has all the tools to succeed, but it's up to him.
That is up to him, and I think he has. And we don't even talk about the situation that he's coming into. I know that Jared Goff is obviously the guy from day one, and he's earned that, and I'm okay with that. But say Ben Johnson doesn't necessarily want to leave after the next year or two. Say they have an offensive line that's still elite, and we got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams. He'll at least have all of those pieces in place to learn under until or unless some of them have to be cap casualties or Ben Johnson goes to take a head coaching job. I mean, Hendon Hooker has got everything set up in front of him to be a successful quarterback. And honestly, it would be great for the Lions if he does reach his potential and you can get Hendon Hooker with a couple years under his rookie deal. That is best, other than the Detroit Lions winning a Super Bowl with Jared Goff, the best case scenario after that would be Hendon Hooker taking the reins, having a cheap rookie contract, being able to keep more guys like, Kirby Joseph, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Penei Sewell, Aiden Hutchinson, and keep supplementing that roster. So we should all be rooting for Hendon Hooker to be a great quarterback. He has all that capability.
He does. And JB, when you hear these comments by Dan talking about Hendon Hooker, do you believe it's coach talk, or do you believe there's something there that Dan sees that maybe he's even excited about the future with him?
No, there's definitely something there that Dan sees. I mean, we all know Dan Campbell as being a very passionate person, especially about the players on this team. So if he's saying this, there's some truth to it as well. And along with that, on the podcast, he even said that, they had a conversation with Jared Goff, not only about contract extension, but also his future plans and goals with Hendon Hooker being here as well too. He's going to be that mentor to him that eases him along in the NFL. He knows that maybe this isn't the ending spot for him in the Detroit Lions organization, but still at the same time, he knows that he has a job to do as a starting quarterback and as a mentor to younger talent that he's around as well too. So that's a factor that has to play in too. Yeah,
that's spot on. I mean, and Gabby, you're more and more around the building. What are your thoughts on just Dan's comments about Hendon Hooker?
I don't think this organization is one to talk unless there's something to talk about. I have found that when hearing, especially Brad Holmes, and I think I'm going to stretch it to the whole organization, if they believe in a player, they'll let you know that they believe in a player, and I don't think that they would go into much detail about them and on this topic and with Hendon Hooker if they didn't have something to say. We saw it with Williams in the pre-draft press conference when it was brought up. Is he at practice? Yes, he's at practice. Point blank. That was it. So when they don't want to talk about something, they won't talk about something, and they'll find a way not to talk about it, even if it's just a short sentence. So I think there is a lot of weight behind Hooker and believing in him. Whatever the pattern may be for his future with Goff, without Goff, they believe in Hooker. I believe.
Yeah, and I think that's clear. Again, because it's not about looking at comments and being like, okay, this is 100% how they feel, but there's some truth to it. Like, Brad said about J-Mo, and Ryan Ermanni caught that very early, and he was spot on with that as well. Mailbag time. We're going to go to break. Get your questions ready. For whoever the question is for, we will try to get to all of them, if not most of them. But before we do that, we don't know if Hendon Hooker will work out, but Sam Flannel, if I want to work out physically, where can I go?
Well, you go to Planet Fitness, of course, and Planet Fitness is thrilled to allow high schoolers ages 14 to 19 in the United States and Canada to work out for free all summer long from May 15th through August 31st. Teens can register between May 1st and officially gain access to the club on May 15th, with registration open during the summer months through August 31st. Plus, they're giving away $200,000 to high schools and students. Teens ages 14 through 19 who register for High School Summer Pass can help win a scholarship for their school and participate in a TikTok video contest for a chance to win academic scholarships. Planet Fitness will award 5 $10,000 scholarships to 5 teens nationwide who will be selected via a TikTok video submission contest. Additionally, the top 5 schools with the most signups on our leaderboard will each receive $10,000 for a total of $50,000, which can be used to fund athletic equipment, field renovations, physical fitness classes, and health and wellness classes. And for all the rest of us, it's Planet Fitness, where your fitness is essential.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side.
Lemieux and McCarty, who've had a good knockdown drag up. There they go, right on the whistle. Baby, talking to one another.
Woodward Sports.
We're back. approaching the end of the show here, Morning Woodward Show, Woodward Sports Network. Your host for today, Jeff Iafrate, and alongside me filling in for Adham Beydoun, who is currently out. He will be planning on being back tomorrow. Sam Flannel, thank you, by the way, for filling in. Did a great job today, my man.
Pleasure.
JB, Gabby D. Phillips, and as usual, Alex Westfall in the booth. Let's get to some of these questions. Let's see what the people are asking. Let's see. Jesse Adams, mailbag, which is more sad, the District of Detroit or Adams' immune system? Second question, Jeff, what do you think about the fights this past weekend? I thought it was just okay. Gilbert killed my parlay. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you there. I picked Sterling and Gilbert. Gilbert kind of murdered my parlay. I think we agreed, Jesse, when we talked about it last week. They were all right. I mean, they weren't that special. Now, what's more sad, the District of Detroit or Adams' immune system? That's a toss-up. I mean, it's like, doesn't matter. They're both sad. District of Detroit is sad, and Adams' immune system is incredibly sad. Jack asks, mailbag, when Jeff and Sam host, can we call this morning show the Lakers show? Well, if we talked about Lakers for one segment, so no, you cannot call it the Lakers show.
They did good this morning. You held back
we
a
held
little
back.
bit.
We did a good job, Sam. I'm proud of us. Let's see. A mailbag, is Sam Flannel the Skip Bayless of Woodward? What would you say to that, Sam Flannel?
I mean, if hopefully I make the money that Skip Bayless does someday, get that kind of exposure. I mean, for all the hate Skip Bayless gets, and I'm not a fan myself, especially since he's made a career off of just hating LeBron, you got to respect it. He's polarizing. People want to listen to him. So if I get compared to him, I'm not even mad. Dude's a multimillionaire.
Sean Stanley says, did you guys talk about the NHL draft lottery? Yeah, we did. At the beginning of the show, we talked about it. You can go back and rewatch the show, or you can listen to it on any podcast app you so choose. Don't forget to leave a rating, by the way, if you do that.
5 stars.
5 stars. Man, Bear, Pig, mailbag. Jeff, what were you thinking when you put on that shirt this morning? You know what I thought? I woke up this morning, and, fresh off a Lakers victory, and I said, you know what? I need something that displays greatness. So I grabbed a striped shirt. Because to me, striped shirts display greatness. All right, you might call me a mime, you might call me a barcode, but can't deny it. Looks pretty good. All right,
it does, Jeff. But a barcode's
pat myself on the back. All right, I'll take a bar. The barcode joke is funny. I can't even be mad about that. Let's see. Jesse says, mailbag, what is your guys' go-to meal, adult beverage on NFL Sunday? Second question, would you rather know how you are going to die or when you are going to die? Okay, first question, go-to meal and adult beverage on NFL Sunday. Sam Flannel.
Honestly, for me, it's probably pizza and either Blue Moon beer, or I'm a big soda guy or pop guy, whatever they call it here. So I'm very, very boring at this age. So yeah.
I lived in Georgia for a couple years. Yeah, it's pop. It'll always be pop to me. All right, no soda. What about you, JB? Go-to meal on a NFL Sunday?
Oh, I'm simple. It's a plain nachos and cheese, and then a beer. Whatever I got around the house.
All right, what about you, Gabby?
Beer and wings.
See, very simple.
Can't go wrong.
Second question, would you rather know how
Wait, you didn't answer.
Pizza and wings. I mean, it's very simple. I'm Italian. Give me pizza, I'll be happy. That's all I care about. Bart, Jeff, did your mom pick out that shirt for you today? No, she did not. Just to clarify that. John Lord asked, mailbag Gabby, what are your goals this year on Woodward to achieve? Wow, good question.
Wow, really getting
It's like
deep
a personal,
here this morning.
It's different from my striped shirt question, but we'll take it.
Growth. I think that's pretty general, but I mean, growth. I had the great chance of sitting up at the desk yesterday with Mr. Neil Rule, getting to kind of test the waters with him and learn a little bit, and I think growth is always the goal.
Mailbag, Jeff, Aljo versus Sean O'Malley. Who do you got? I'm going to roll with my guy. I'm going to roll with Sean O'Malley, Sugar Sean. Huge fan of him, but that'll be a good fight. Rich, let's see. Alex Lee, when are we getting Gabby up on the desk, Jeff? I am not the person to ask that question.
Go watch Big D Energy the second half yesterday.
There you go. Go watch Big D. It's still on YouTube. Broder says Joe Milton versus JJ McCarthy. Did you see that too? By the way, Joe Milton. All right, I want to bring this up. I'm glad because I have the perfect man to talk about this with. Joe Milton. I do think Joe Milton will have a good year this year at Tennessee because that offense is primed for what he can do. But let's not act like we didn't see the last 4 years of Joe Milton, Sam Flannel.
No, that's true. But the thing about Joe Milton, and he's one of those that I had such high hopes for at Michigan, but he obviously couldn't get together. He's got one of the strongest arms that I think I've ever seen in a college football player. Just an absolute howitzer. He just doesn't always know where it's going, or at least he didn't at Michigan during his time there. It wouldn't shock me at all if Joe Milton has a phenomenal year, becomes a first-round draft pick, but I also think that's what J.J. McCarthy is going to become. I think that they're both going to be first-round draft picks.
Who gets drafted higher?
I think it's going to be Joe Milton.
Oh!
He's got all of the physical tools. He's got him in droves.
We got him to say it.
I know.
I can't believe you, Sam.
But I'm glad he's out of Michigan, though.
I was going to say, what's crazy? Joe and JJ battled for the starting job, and now they could arguably both be first-round picks. And Sam Flannel believes Joe Milton might be a higher pick. We'll see. We'll revisit that take this year. Mailbag, Big Con mailbag. Is the NBA messing it up by starting these games so late? People got to sleep. Listen, man, you're talking to the wrong person. I agree with you. I mean, some of these West Coast games are ridiculous. They're finishing at like 12:30. Ain't nobody got time for that. I got to go to sleep.
No, the funny thing, too, Jeff, is you said that you fell asleep during the game. I did not fall asleep. I watched some of the post game too, so I'm coming in pretty hot after like 5 hours of sleep. But you know what? I have to watch it. I can't fall asleep during those games because so much of what I went on the limb for is on the line this series. I can't fall asleep during that. But I also am very, very sleep deprived, but that's okay.
Yeah. And Roger says, if Joe Milton has a great year at Tennessee, it'll tell you something about Hooker. Yeah, I guess the offense, but we'll see. They still could be two different players. But you had a point there, Roger. Are you worried about replacing Jake Moody at U of M this year, Sam Flannel?
I mean, yeah, because college kickers, it can be an adventure. And Michigan had a very, very good one for a couple of years. I mean, he won the Lou Groza Award a couple of years ago. So, yeah, there was a lot of confidence that at least if they got it down to the red zone. I mean, I lived through some of the years of Quinn Nordine, who you never knew where was going some of the time, and guys like Jason Gingell, who was the one that I believe got his kick blocked against Appalachian State. So having a good kicker is more valuable than you think. It can cost you games if you don't have one. So, yes, I'm a little worried.
Well, thank you to every single one of you who tuned in today's show, sticking with us from start to finish. Again, subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. And if you can't watch live, it's okay. You can go back and watch it, listen to it at any podcast platform you so choose, Apple Music or Spotify. Or go check out our website. Do us a favor for all the latest news, articles, updates, show clips, and merchandise, so much more. Go do that. From Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Gabby D. Phillips, and Alex Westfall. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
See ya.